welcome back to the Unpatched Gaming Podcast where we share games. I'm your host.
And I'm also your host.
It is good to have you here because we are here to talk about a very special game.
Indeed, one that we have been playing throughout the year. I say one that we've been playing, a series, Hitman. I have been playing it in the Hitman 3 engine all year. And if you've been following us, you may have heard some of the little mini episodes we've tacked on to the end of other episodes throughout the year. We've been going through Hitman one level at a time, 2016, 18, and now with Hitman 3.
And we didn't quite make it all the way through to in the podcast format.
Yeah.
We unfortunately ran into this thing called a lot to do.
Yeah.
Lots of games to play, guys.
So many. This year, I don't typically see the credits of most games, but this year I have put a decent amount of time into like 63 games right now, I think.
Yeah.
And there are more to come during our Christmas break, which...
By the end of the year, I will have completed more than a game a week.
That's a lot.
Completed. It's insane.
Wow. That's too many.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's so
My
much.
reading agenda, to say the least, has suffered this year.
Yeah, we are going to calm down a bit next year. We've got 3 games to talk about this week. One of them will be much shorter, is not a full feature on the cast. We'll be talking about Kana as well. But next year we are going to calm down, with the exception of our first episode. We're going to do one game per episode. Just calm down a bit. Though I say that, I don't think that Mass Effect is really going to provide any
amount of wiggle
sort of
room.
relief. Yeah.
And we'll double up on shorter games still.
Sure.
You know,
like we did with Yoku and that Breakout game that I forget, Creature in the Well. But we are here to talk about Hitman.
Yes.
And we thought it would be a pretty fun occasion to wear something, a little get up, and have his kid brother, make some cocktails for us. What are we drinking? An Aviation?
This is an Aviation gin-based cocktail, really centered around that lavender liqueur. Nick always makes his drink sweet, which is not my usual style, but he always balances stuff well
I like
around it.
sweet drinks.
Yeah, well, he balances well around it. His main thing is tiki. He goes for tiki drinks as often as possible. But we do have an Aviation here. It's really well balanced for being a sweet Aviation.
Wait, are Aviations not typically sweet?
Not this sweet. They're sweet, but definitely not as sweet.
I've only
as
ever
the
had
next
one
week.
other at the Roosevelt Room.
And that's a drier
Yeah, I
one,
don't.
yeah.
I don't remember it being this sweet. You're right. It's very good. But let's go ahead and jump in now. If you have been following us, you did.
Liqueur.
Yeah. If you've been following us, some of the things that we're going to talk about, some of our talking points will be repeated. It really can't be helped. These games are so similar, and really, aside from a couple weapons that you see throughout the series, they really do feel like one game. Especially if you are newer to the series, you can pick up Hitman 3 and then get the other 2 games to play through the Hitman 3 client, I guess. They've been sort of remastered a bit, just some new lighting effects and reflections and stuff. But you're going to get the UI improvements that have been through the course of the years.
And they're pretty, they're minor but significant to gameplay, I'd say.
Yeah,
adding color to the, enemy detection. Because I played Hitman 1, then I bought Hitman 2, then I bought Hitman 3. I didn't play them through their respective clients. So I played everything pretty fresh, as if it was just that entry. And it's surprising, the little updates to the coloring of those
which is
things.
one of the things I'm really interested in. So maybe let's start there. If you can just give a rundown of some of the major, you just talked about the UI a bit. What are some of the other improvements you may have noticed?
Obviously, every game, it kind of feels a little more modern as you move forward. Tell me, does Hitman 2, if you play it on PS5, have adaptive triggers?
I don't know.
I don't know
this one?
Yeah, this one has adaptive triggers.
Interesting. I don't know how I haven't noticed that.
Yeah, like when you aim and stuff, and it'll give some resistance and stuff like that.
Is it pretty subtle?
Yeah, it's not huge. The biggest is like your heartbeat when you get low on health. Like that's a rumble.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That's a rumble.
I know that. No, I don't know because I played it on PC.
Okay.
I played 1 and 2. I bought Hitman 3.
I noticed it for sure.
Yeah. I bought Hitman 3 right around launch time, and I already had 1 and 2 on PC. So I bought that, played 1 and 2 through the client, and then this was on a Black Friday deal, so $20 seemed like a pretty good deal, and I'm sort of transitioning back to console games after nearly a decade of being pretty exclusively PC.
Yeah, pretty much everything but first-person shooters or kind of like real-time strategy, maybe a CRPG here or there.
Yeah, but as we talked about last week, if Disco Elysium is indicative of how some newer CRPGs might play, I'd be happy to play them because I played that almost all the way through with a controller.
Yeah,
it just felt better leaning back in my chair than being up with the keyboard. It's so smooth with a controller. But other ones I've played, like let's see,
Torment,
Baldur's Gate, Tides of Numenera, and Planescape Torment. Both of those are pretty rough on console. Either UI scaling or just the general controls are not good. But anyway, transitioning to console, I picked this one up just before this episode with enough time to finish it, which I don't do often. I don't finish a lot of games. Neither of the next 2 games we're going to talk about did I finish. But I did finish this, and I got to play a little bit of the extras, which is really my biggest complaint with what we decided on last year. Once we heard Hitman 3 was coming out, we decided to play it like this. The little get up here, just having some fun. We decided that last year. We decided to play 1 and 2 throughout the whole year. I really think that was a disservice to us because we were really pressed for time and rushed through some of the various levels. And that's not how this game should be played. This entire series is should be played at a very slow pace. And over the course of time, there's only 6 levels in this game, which doesn't seem like much. Any other game, if this were a Mario game with only 6 levels and maybe 6 stars in each of them, people would riot. It just would not be worth your money, really. But this game has so much to offer. Each level is so deep. And then, of course, there's a bunch of side content, different ways to experience each of the levels. But even just through the main campaign, there's so many ways to play it, and it is intended to be played over and over. And unlike other games that focus a lot on narrative, but have sort of built-in replayability, this is a little different. It's, in my opinion, one of the more inviting replayable games. I don't know how to express that totally clearly.
I was thinking the same thing, because you have games that many people, when they finish, will never pick up again, right? But Hitman is one of those games where I can walk up to someone who doesn't really play a lot of games and say, "Hey, did you play Hitman?" Yeah, I played that. I played the Miami level like 6 times. You know what I mean? Oh, why'd you do that? And you'll get answers like, well, then you unlock the ability to smuggle in an item, and then I started here in the pit instead, and I was able to kill the person this way or whatever. Like, as you're unlocking things and kind of making the connections, I like to kind of say this game makes you feel much smarter than you actually are.
It does that very well.
Even though I know that's what it's doing, it still tricks me. Like, it still makes me feel like, oh, I figured this out. No, you didn't. You walked up. The first thing on your left was 2 homeless people talking about this happening, and you just followed it. Like,
this is chunking you're talking about?
Yeah, it's so well placed. It's obvious that's what it's intended to play. Your first playthrough should maybe follow this, but if you know what they're doing to you, you can go off and do your own thing. I spend at least 2 hours on my first playthrough of any level.
A little bit of a very weird side note.
Okay.
So if you follow us on Instagram, I am doing this 12 Days of Christmas thing. Carbach released a 12-pack of 12 unique IPAs. So there's a huge backlog of games that came out this year. I'm just giving them each a fair shake, depending on their size, 1 to 4 hours a day for the next 12 days, paired with a beer. Yesterday, I played a couple hours of Pokemon Snap, and it's got some of that going on as well. Quite a bit of that, actually. There's so much happening in the environment and ways to interact. I mean, there's not a ton of ways to interact with the environment, but even on like my 4th time going through one of the courses, I was still finding new things that trigger, which really you can only get a really good snapshot of if you do it again. Like, you have to know that that's coming at this particular time and maybe scare one of the Pokemon off to run off to do something else. It offers a lot of replayability and invites the replayability that way. I found that to be interesting, and sorry for that aside, because I know you hate that game.
Hate's a strong word. I try not to hate most games. I see the audience for it. I am not that audience.
I won't pick it back up, but I did have fun.
I'm glad.
I definitely see it. I'm not a fan of the original, just because I didn't play it.
If it's not fun, why bother?
Well,
I'm just kidding.
That's not incorrect.
I mean, I
espouse those beliefs, to a degree.
I definitely think that games can be more than fun. I was just quoting
Yeah.
Reggie.
What I typically say is if you're not enjoying it. Like, I was talking to my neighbor yesterday about Halo 5, and he really, really does not like Halo 5. That is, he loves Halo. He's grown up with Halo, played all of them, but pretty much hates Halo 5. I do. No, I didn't grow up with Halo, actually. But anyway, he really does not like this game. But the narrative, like when you finally get to a cutscene to further the narrative, it's so good, but he hates playing it.
It's incredible.
I'm just told him to go just go watch it on YouTube. Do you know about Halo 5?
Yeah.
The campaign?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
You know what it's doing that's different than other Halo games? Why would they do that?
I don't know.
That sounds insane.
Would you like to explain to the listeners?
Yes. So suppose I've not played Halo 5 yet, but Halo 5, I guess, is sort of an open world game with Ubisoft sort of outposts that you have to go and kill the Covenant to free Marines to further the narrative in a non-linear way.
Yeah, and you're split across 2 different characters, and
this sounds terrible.
It's considered to be the worst Halo game. So.
Oh, did I say 5?
Yeah.
No, I meant Infinite.
Oh,
that is what Infinite is. No, Halo 5, yes, is considered to be the worst. I meant Infinite, and I'm sorry. No,
I've never played 5.
Yeah, neither have I.
All I know is,
but that's a linear. That's a more traditional Halo game.
It's split across 2.
No, Halo Infinite is an open world Ubisoft game, supposedly.
I don't.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, why would you do that?
Anyway, stop playing. If you don't like it, just move on. That's the point. Just move on to something better, like Pokemon Snap.
Play the free multiplayer.
Yes, that's what I'll happily do.
Yeah,
play the free multiplayer. Moving on to Hitman 3. Go ahead and really start us off with Hitman 3.
Yeah, so but Hitman 3, I know we talked about it as one continuous experience, but there are some things that definitely set Hitman 3 apart from the other 2 games, I'd argue. Primarily, I think it definitely kind of taps more into what traditional Hitman is. It goes for some very cinematic moments, far more scripted moments.
I see that.
And specifically, I think of, I keep forgetting, chunking?
Chunking,
yeah. Chunking, where you hack into the computer and then it locks you down. There are certain pathways blocked off. It wants you to kind of leave by a certain route. Very scripted. And I'd argue it was a incorrect choice for this game.
Yeah.
There are now one thing I do.
And the last level, oh my god,
the entire last level cinematic, and it's quite literally a line. You're on a train and moving down the train.
It's so long. It's got to be 60 cars.
Yeah, it's and there's very specific ways to progress in certain sections. It's totally undermines what the game does well. basically.
Unless we're just missing it. And there's something under there that we can't see, but definitely upon first playthrough,
I'm sure if you go...
It's so bad.
I'm sure you can kind of, make some certain things happen that are interesting, but nowhere near the, exponential scale of some of these levels.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For me, what I've found is that works well from the cinematic approach is some of the levels open kind of further out from the level itself.
Yeah.
I think of the level in the nightclub, and you kind of start further out, and there's a gas station and a car kind of pulled over haphazardly on the side, a dead body.
See, that's the cinematic stuff to me.
Yeah.
And actually, I thought that moment was awesome.
And that's great. Yeah.
That was so good.
And I guess when I say cinematic, I'm thinking more Uncharted 4. Scripted cinematic sequence that you're still inputting things maybe, but there's really just kind of one way forward.
Yeah.
And those games are great. I mean, Uncharted's incredible, But
I do.
that's not what this game does well. And I think it suffers when you're riding on top of a train, crafting a silencer for yourself, playing, Last of Us 2 through a Hitman client. That's what's happening here in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't work. Thankfully...
And it's not as good of a train sequence.
No. But thankfully it's nowhere near as prevalent throughout the game as the traditional kind of modern, I guess, what would you call it? Hitman reboot? Hitman.
I guess. I've not
seen
played
it called
the
World
original.
of Assassination.
Yeah, that's what they call it.
Yeah, so it's kind of unwieldy to try to say.
Yeah, it's not a great name, but it is the World of Assassination trilogy.
Yeah, this trilogy though, it does definitely have more of what makes this trilogy good than those moments. But you can definitely see a lot more of those moments in here, which is odd.
Yeah, there's several. That portion at the beginning of the rave compound.
See, that's
with
really
the gas
good.
station, it was so good
Because it builds the tension.
And
the
very
first guard
atmospheric.
comes out. You can see the light from the first guard.
Yeah,
really good. The Mendoza, the wine place, you pull up and you get a full view, and then you have to kind of walk down and walk in and hand your invitation over.
Yeah,
really clean.
That's good as
it's
well.
It's really good.
I'd like to play that one again. I just
I'm a
happened
sucker
to
for anything with wine, man.
Yeah, I just happened to stumble upon both of the targets. And I think I finished that level in 15 minutes.
Oh, no.
So I really experienced very little. Pray tell.
I'm going to tell you what I did. Everybody knows this by now, I'm sure.
Should we go in order of the levels?
We should. But I really want to
say
this.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Because it's my favorite so far. So it's my favorite kill in the whole series.
The whole series?
The whole series. My favorite kill.
More than the hippo?
More than the hippo.
Okay.
And there's one reason in particular, although the hippo is definitely number 2. So you're going on a wine tour, and the gentleman, the head winemaker is leading this tour, and you get to a point where you're with Diana, who's trying to help you get the target killed, who's walking with her. And so you're at a point in the tour, like, are there any questions? And you can say, yeah, I have a question, and you can walk to any number of areas in this winery, in this kind of winemaking area, and ask a question where Diana will try to find a way to get you to subtly kill the she'll distract the guy, like, oh, can you do that? Can you look at that for me? Oh, is this okay? And then you can push the other chick off the railing or something like that. Well, there's a grape presser. A grape presser that is
massive.
I've
seen this.
Yes, huge. And so you can basically, he goes, oh, go, all of you take a picture in there, and you're like, yeah, let's go, and you all go stand, and then Diana's like, can I see that? I think my eyes are closed. Can I go see that? So she walks out to look at the picture with the guy. The other chick stays there. And so you sneak out and turn the key, and it turns on, and she screams, but it smashes her. But then it comes back up, like just some sort of gum of her organs, and it snaps.
Incredible.
It's like, you can tell they put their heart and soul into that kill, and it works so well.
I didn't see it because I kind of wanted to do it myself, but early on when this game came out in January, first major game this year. Anyway, Dunkey knocked everybody out and put them all in, everybody in the level, and put them all in there. I didn't see what it looks like because I wanted to do it myself. But that does sound
I'm sure it's
amazing.
Just insane.
I did that once, something similar in prey to very underwhelming effect. There's a machine.
I still love
you know
that
the
machine, the recycle charges.
the recycle grenades. Yeah, they basically turn any natural matter into its base form. But there's a machine that does that. You just put chairs in there, put furniture, and people. So I put as many people as I could find in the level, as many bodies as I could find in the level, and it barely did anything. It was really a shame.
Just recycled them.
Yeah, but it also wasn't very much.
Oh, that's a shame.
There could have been more fanfare. Okay.
Yeah, I feel
for all that work.
I feel that.
For all that work. Yeah, I should do that again because I didn't see it. I actually completely forgot about that moment until you just said it because I really had no chance to explore the level. I could have played it again, but I played the Dartmoor Mansion again.
That's a good level.
It's very good. But again, they happened to be right there, and I finished the level so quickly.
That's nice. I had trouble with the end of that level.
I would have liked for it to have been drug out a little more.
Sure. That being said, let's, like you said, talk about each episode. So the first episode is the Dubai. That was kind of like the big advertising campaign. It was really around Dubai. At the top of the tower, all the rich people there. I didn't follow this quest, but you can kill the really rich sheik, and then he has like a golden ATM card.
Oh yeah,
and you can go use it to withdraw money. But I didn't.
For what?
I don't know. I want to know. I have no idea.
Maybe just experience.
Yeah, maybe. So I found that that was doable, but this one I found underwhelming overall.
It was. I do think, it's aside from the last level, my least favorite. It's not a particularly great Hitman level. I do think it is such a good first impression of the game. It's not particularly difficult or overwhelming. It's not a huge level, but the set piece is really jaw-dropping. You start by diving out of a plane, it's a plane. Diving out of a plane and landing on some scaffolding in what is now the tallest building in the world. The Scepter, I think they call it. It's either in addition to whatever that building in Dubai is, the world's tallest building, or a new building that surpasses that pretty significantly. But you land on some scaffolding that's way up there. You're past the clouds. You crawl through some vents, and then it's really well placed. You walk through some curtains, and as the curtains flutter, you can see that there's some clothes right outside, like everybody's coats. And as it flutters, you start the game as him in a suit. And it's a really nice clean, presentation. Yeah. But, being outside, walking through the vents and seeing... it runs in 4K 60 on PS5. It's such a smooth game. Seeing the reflections on all of the different sort of surfaces, the brass, the marble, even some of the lacquered wood.
Sure.
It's just a really beautiful level. Then it's immediately showed up by the next level, which I think is also great. Like that's, great for the player. Like you are comfortable with this, it's going to be a beautiful game. Now let's really throw you in the deep end. And it really doesn't take time because that level is not particularly easy. It's quite easy to get lost. There are two pretty decently sized areas outside of the house. There's the graveyard. Did you go there?
Yeah.
And the greenhouse,
which I actually didn't explore very much.
I didn't until today. Actually, I went back and played what are they called? Elusive targets. I did an elusive target mission there, and he was hanging out there for a while, which was an accident. I was just like, oh wow, a giant glass building. Let me go over there, and he was hanging out there for a bit.
Very nice.
So we have some more cocktails coming. We're going to finish this and be right back. And we are back.
Yes.
With another drink. Cheers, bro.
Cheers indeed. This is the cable car. I have not had this.
Daintiest little dink.
Yeah. You're my daintiest little dink.
What the hell is that?
God, I don't know, but now we need to mark this as explicit.
My daintiest little dink.
This is called the Cable Car. I have not had it. Nick says there's orange liqueur, lots of lemon juice, rum, simple syrup, and cinnamon sugar rim.
That cinnamon sugar rim actually adds quite a bit. I like it. I think it's a little heavy on the lemon, which is intended. He was saying that's intended.
Yeah,
I think a little cinnamon in the drink, maybe.
Oof. Or like, oh, dude, just it doesn't really add a lot of flavor, but just like a cinnamon stick in there, just to the. I love it when they have cinnamon stick garnishes, man.
Yeah. Or what if you? It would add a lot more flavor if you sort of activated the cinnamon stick by,
turning it on its side. I'm just kidding.
That's tapping the cinnamon stick.
Sorry.
No, simmered it in lemon juice.
Oh, that'd be
then you take the simmered cinnamon stick, which has been activated, and put that in the drink.
Very good.
Or light it on fire.
Yeah.
Like the cigar box. Anyway, cocktails. They're great. They're great. What did you say? Not the sidecar, but the what?
The cable car.
Cable car. Okay.
Yeah, very delightful.
So
would have again.
I think we were at throwing the player into the greenhouse.
Mm-hmm.
The greenhouse. I'd like to take a moment to talk about the.
So really quick, some context here. This is a mansion, like a classic British mansion, very obviously playing into the whole. What is that popular show?
Downton Abbey.
Downton Abbey. Yeah.
Downtown Abbey.
Downtown Abbey. No, Downton Abbey, and it's very much playing into the butlers, the intrigue, the secret spying holes, and all those things. It's
there are secret rooms in the walls. This is away. I'm sorry.
The main portrait in the main hall of the owner, the main lady that you're trying to assassinate, is just her with her, Captain Morganing with a giant, shotgun or whatever over her shoulder with her like rabid, terrifying Doberman pincers, I think. Like just two hunting dogs. It's
now I wonder if there's a secret passageway in the wall and you can sort of peek through there.
There's gotta be.
That would be great.
There's gotta be.
There's several.
My little two chest hairs.
You got some cinnamon sugar in your chest hairs?
Yeah, my
goodness gracious, this just became a X-rated show.
X-rated. Don't look at me. But yeah,
anyway, Downton Abbey, the level. It's very good. It's also one of the most beautiful things I've seen this year.
Because you can take a unicorn horn, bust its horn off, and throw it at people. Right? Is that what you're going to say?
No. For actually the exact same reasons I sort of gushed over the Fico Depot level in Oddworld. The way all of the different textures are first immediately apparent: lacquered wood, old textured sort of cracking wood, worn leather, metal, brass, things like that, the green glass of a desk lamp. All of that is very apparent here, and it's gorgeous. And in fact, the what is it called where you like test how powerful your PC is? The benchmark. There's a benchmark built into the PC version of this game, and it is just this level. It's in the library, and like books are exploding and things. Looks like a Harry Potter movie.
That's awesome.
Just to see how much how many particle effects your PC can handle, and it's gorgeous, and it's also beautiful on the PS5. So I spent a lot of time just looking around just to see how nice the place was. But I did eventually get to the game. There are two things you need to do. Kill the old lady. And I did that almost immediately. I was going to walk into the mansion. But as I said a moment ago, there are two things off to the side. One of which I didn't see on my first playthrough, being the greenhouse. The other one is the graveyard. It's just like, oh, cool. Something, pretty well removed from the level. I'm going to go try that out. Because that's actually not something that was very... The other two games were pretty focused on whatever the one area was. You were obviously locked into 2.5 blocks of Denver. You were obviously just around the the racetrack. There wasn't anything like too well removed, and so that caught my eye. I was like, oh, that's a whole nother area to explore. So I went over there, and it turns out she is staging a fake funeral for herself. What is this? Some insurance reason? I forget.
I think
it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
really.
I don't remember.
Yeah. By the way, the narrative here is throwaway. It's not good at all. You don't have to pay attention to it. And I think that's intentional for a reason I will get to in a bit. But any of the targets, it doesn't really matter. It's just a vehicle for the gameplay. So I walk over to the graveyard, and her funeral is being prepared. So you can disguise yourself as the priest and then tell one of the maids to say, "I'm ready." And she'll come over and sort of figure out how it's all going to work. And if you can get a few of the people away from the area, you can stab her, shoot her, whatever, twist her neck and push her in the grave. And that's the end of that. Now you have to go inside and do the other thing. However, there is a pile of dirt next to the grave. Of course, they have to fill the grave. So if you pick up the shovel that's somewhere nearby, for no reason, just extra experience, you can also bury her. And it's fantastic. It's really something special.
I wonder, is there a way to bury her alive?
I don't know. You would...
There'd
probably
have to be a prompt for like pushing her in or something.
No, because you can knock her out and carry her in, I guess.
Oh, that's true.
Because you could... It's the same sort
again, I say it every time we talk about Hitman. Dragging a body in this game is so good. Really just flopping around.
It's very silly.
Yeah,
this game is not trying to be realistic. So
to its benefit,
yes,
it's so good.
I guess after this level, let's jump into some other stuff that we'll repeat from some of our previous episodes. But I finally went into the house and just explored for like 2 hours.
It's
I
explored
it for a long
so
time.
Details.
And then finally sort of got turned around, didn't know what to do.
They're at the top of their detail game in this one, for sure.
Yeah, for the most part. Faces in this game are some of
I meant
the
more
worst.
like details in the levels,
yes,
like those kinds of
this
things.
game is gorgeous. Just don't look at the people. Any of them. They're ugly.
Just
All
like
of
real
them.
life, really.
No, most ugly people in real life are more beautiful than any of the people in this game. They are grotesque. Like that statue of Nicolas Cage in that new Nicolas Cage trailer.
Listen.
It's grotesque.
His wonder at that guys.
I'll give you 20,000 for it.
Yeah, guys. Okay, Nicolas Cage. Little sidebar here.
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage, in my opinion, unironically, is the best actor living right now. You'll think of the people who are more traditionally accepted, like Joaquin Phoenix, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Who I think is the best, Joaquin.
That's a totally valid answer. Joaquin's incredible.
I know it is.
That'd be my first choice otherwise. And then you have, Leo DiCaprio's. You got your Daniel Day-Lewis's.
I would argue, and a lot of people might not, Tom Cruise is up there. Tom Cruise's range is astounding.
Not up there in terms... I don't know. You're right, though. I do love watching it.
No, his roles are maybe not the best, but he can do anything. He has done all of it.
Eyes wide shut.
He's so good.
So, Nicolas Cage, though, is a unique animal.
An animal indeed.
Because you can see Nicolas Cage in a Martin Scorsese movie. Bringing Out the Dead. Plays, an EMT who's losing it. One of the most compelling, powerful performances you can watch. And then you watch Mandy. An extremely visceral, not reliant on dialogue performance. All, just really from his gut. And sure, he says lines and things, but like that, it's not the focus of the character and not what brings it life. And then you can watch the just random schlock that he accepts.
There's a lot of it.
I think the guy does like 4 or 5 movies a year. Like, I mean, Ghost Rider 2.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, schlock, and still,
I bet that movie is great.
I'm sure
because it knows what it is. Like, the first Ghost Rider may have been, and it's been too long since I've watched it, or maybe not long enough. But I think it's maybe a little too self-serious. The second one, he pees fire. It knows exactly what it's doing. And when a movie knows what it's doing, when it leans into it, it's so much better for it.
Yeah, and so, like, for example, though, like, that movie, that performance, people don't hold that performance up necessarily as the best performance ever. Or you look like, what's the new one? Ghostland, something in Ghostland. One of his newer movies, Jiu-Jitsu, where he, like, you know, just, like, I mean, just schlock, right? But so many people watch a schlock movie with a famous actor, and they're like, oh, it's going to be so good because they're in it. And it's still a schlock movie. Mm-hmm. It's not good. I have never in my entire life watched one movie where Nicolas Cage was even in it for 5 minutes that did not, after that movie, go, that was worth my time. Every single time.
This is true.
And so
this is definitely true for me.
Just based on like that as the bar, where you alone can elevate a movie to worthwhileness.
Have you seen Weatherman? I've always wanted to go back and watch Weatherman.
I liked it a lot when I was younger. Definitely don't. It's fine.
But it's Nick Cage.
I mean, if you're looking for like remembering it fondly, like I did for its story and like a meaningful family drama, it's not that. It's again only really truly worthwhile for Nicolas Cage.
Okay. I
think the only Nicolas Cage movie that I don't like watching is that World Trade Center one.
I don't know that one.
It's just the only one where I've. But even then, just for his mustache, like I kind of want to watch it right now. Like it's
my favorite Nick Cage movie,
Mandy.
Yeah, probably Mandy. You're right, but I'll say because it was gonna be my answer. Is Matchstick Men? I'll still say Matchstick Men. I love Matchstick Men so much.
It's incredible.
And
him
been
and drug out on the sidewalk and beat until you piss blood.
Oh, he's insane, dude.
He's so good.
He's an insane human being. Anyway, the trailer we were talking about is, what is it? The
unbearable weight of massive talent.
The unbearable weight of massive talent, in which he plays himself, going to
Nicolas Cage.
Nick Cage.
Oh yeah, Nick Cage.
Give him the premise of the movie.
Yeah, so Nicolas Cage is playing himself, Nick Cage. And he's as Nick Cage always is low on money. He owes a lot of debts, and so he gets invited to a very wealthy person's estate who is his number one fan, and gets offered like $1 million just to show up to his birthday party.
Is this fiction?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, is anything with Nick Cage truly fiction? That's the question.
That's a good question.
But no, seriously, he just shows up to this guy's place, and I believe the trailer doesn't. That kind of alludes to this, I think. But I think the guy is crazy and tries to get him to replay all of his old roles. Basically, that seems to be the case. I mean, they reference his old movies.
Is this written by Nick Cage?
No, I think it was written obviously for Nick Cage, though.
Duh.
What if someone else played Nick Cage?
Joaquin Phoenix is Nick Cage.
I'd watch that movie so many times.
I would as well.
And then you
probably go down as one of the greatest.
And then Nick Cage at the end shows up as Joaquin Phoenix. Guys, someone start writing us right now.
Okay, so
that was a good tangent.
Moving on from that, we'll cut that one out. Definitely.
No way.
No, I mean to be by itself and held up forever. Okay, so back to Hitman: The Darkmer Mansion.
I thought you were about to say The Dark Mermaid, and I was like, "What game did you play?"
The same one you did, but another side tangent. The DLC for this game looks insane. It's based on it's the first major DLC pack, based on the 7 Deadly Sins, in which you get just totally bonkers weapons and suits, all gorgeous suits, but really bizarre, like not real fashion. Fashion is not real, though. Fashion is stupid.
Thanks for that little tidbit of wisdom, Tyler.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna look up some of these suits while you keep talking.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen any of them.
That's all. Well, we'll check them out in a minute.
Okay.
But that's it. They just look bizarre, and they do start going into some really weird stuff. So I'm pretty interested in that. I won't have time to go back and play it. I got to be honest with myself. Unfortunately, too many Pokemon Snaps to play. Balin Wander Worlds, which I played today and was just so bad. But tell me how you killed the lady in the Dartmoor Mansion.
I pretended to be her lawyer.
Oh, yeah.
I pretended to be her lawyer.
Was going down that track, but then I got sidetracked.
Yeah, it's a really good level. Again, lots of little hidey holes and like secret passages and things you can find. There's a whole other, like you were saying, there's a whole other like little narrative you can follow. In which you're a private investigator. You can uncover this little conspiracy. Yeah, you have to like look through peepholes and solve actual puzzles. Go through the various pathways that are behind the walls. It becomes a slightly different game, and it looks like a lot of fun. I did not finish it that way, and then with the second playthrough, I didn't do the campaign. I did the target. Elusive target, which I'll take a moment to mention what those are. They are side missions that are recurring. I think it's like 5 days. They're only available for 5 days, and this is the first one I had done. I did it just earlier today, and I didn't know that they were pretty different from the main game. Of course, they take place in the levels themselves, but something else is going on. There's some other target there. All the other targets are still there in the level. They're just not your target anymore. So in this one, this was the collector, the elusive target, the collector, and he was here to get the last few pieces of an artist's collection that he needed. But he also has a weird kink in which he doesn't want any previous owner of any artwork in his collection to remain living. So he kills them. And one of the people here, they own the artwork. So you kind of need to protect them as well. However, as an elusive target, you can't see them with your like Witcher vision. Spidey sense.
Yeah, that. And I don't know if this is true for other elusive targets, but he is also specifically a master of disguise. So he is doing the same thing you're doing the whole time. I actually only found him once right in the beginning when I went to the greenhouse, as I mentioned, but then I lost track of him. And I sort of frantically ran around because the rules of the game are changed. You cannot save. Once you have started down a particular progression path, you can't restart the campaign. If you die, there's no the particular mission. If you die, you can't start again. If you win, you cannot start again to try for a better score. There's some pretty heavy restrictions, and again, your targets, be them people or items, can't be seen with your Witcher vision. So you really do have to know the level and really use everything to your power, because if guards are chasing you down, you have to get away from there. You can't just reload before you enter that door, which you're encouraged to do through the main game. So I say all that to say I lost track of him and then went and did a side mission. You have to get one of those paintings, just sort of tear it out of the frame and keep it. And then I got a warning that he was leaving the building. So I left and went back to the beginning and waited for him. Got in a position where some guards wouldn't see me. And he was walking out as a waiter. Like he had been disguising himself throughout the whole game. So, one of the main reasons I couldn't find him, it's a pretty good way to play the game, man.
Yeah.
If you go back, I would recommend just trying whatever is there. In fact, the next one, which I think is in 2 days, is in Mendoza. So you might want to try that out if you really like that level.
And I think, the game itself, the main game, is preparing you for that. Something that I think is really interesting about the whole series is your first playthrough of a level is different from your 10th, and different from, your any sort of special type of target that you're doing. These levels have so much depth and have they're so well designed. They, have all the different pathways to get to certain areas. Some things that are superfluous for the actual main objectives of the game. They're just there. You don't ever truly find a good use for those things. But the levels have so much autonomy of their own and are designed so cleanly with some little, place windows to jump out of or ladders to slide down. Or it really is a testament to the level designers here that they have built a game off of level design. In fact, they've built a couple different games, really, if you think about it, off of level design alone.
I'd like to try the sniper mode, actually.
Oh, me too.
I've not played that one. So yeah, a few different ways to play the game. And then there's also just a level creator.
Yeah.
You can go to any of the levels and create your own mission. And then download fan-made missions. It's really great. It's a really awesome platform. Definitely recommend getting the third. But this game, I think, overall, is a little weaker than the other two games. I think it has moments that are some of the best.
Sure.
But overall, some choices have been made that I think are a little antithetical to what was best in the series. You already mentioned the moving in a more cinematic direction. Sure, some of those moments are good. The last level is actual trash. Unless we're missing something, join us on Discord. It's currently open. Get the link in the description and come tell us why we're wrong. I would like to be proven wrong. I really hope I am, but we both think it's the worst level in the series. From 2016 to now. It's just not good. And we'll talk about the rave compound. I think that was a bit of a swing and a miss. Great idea. It could have been tightened a little bit. But overall, this is not as tight of an overall package as the other two games.
And I'd argue not for a level design. From a level design standpoint.
No, it's a bunch of the
some of the
other things
are
aside from the last level,
Sure.
which is barely even a level. We can exclude that from the conversation. It's really only for me the rave compound that has some big issues. Sure, the opening level, Dubai, is not the best, but it's a great introduction. I really do think it's a good first level. However, those very minor criticisms aside, I'd like to take a moment to talk about the World of Assassination trilogy, which is my first time through it this year. Hopefully I'll play it again one day. I don't know if that will be the case. But I really think this game is sort of in a league of its own. I actually put it up there with Civilization. I think it's so hard to critique. I think there are so few people who can intelligently critique this game because of how rigid and precise of a video, as a piece of software, really. We've talked about this before, where everything you're seeing, the people, the costumes, the levels themselves are such a thin veneer over the actual code underneath. It is just a video game. It's not trying to be, aside from a few moments here, some huge cinematic blockbuster. It's not even trying to be realistic, as you mentioned, to its benefit. It is a huge stack of systems that is so daunting in some cases that, it's hard to critique unless I think it really is able to shield itself from almost all lower level critique because of how nearly perfect it is. I really do think it's nearly perfect. I think it's only the really higher level critique that really hold a candle to it at all because of how expertly crafted it is.
I just have at the bottom of my notes a very fun game.
And it is that.
It's a really, really fun video game.
And what I mean by Civilization, I put it up there with Civilization. I don't mean as one of the best games ever made, though Civilization could probably pretty easily be argued as one of the best video games. Not by myself, but I would entertain any argument. It's just, it has such a legacy, and it's been built upon for so many years, and at this point, they have so mastered their craft that anybody like us, it's really hard for us to say anything particularly worthy of criticizing it. And after playing this trilogy, there's some very minor differences. Very minor critiques, which again are barely nothing. I think it's just one level here that is a big deal.
And yeah, I think you're right, because a lot of the times where I have not enjoyed myself have been just because that particular thing wasn't for me, or I wasn't making the best use of that scenario, or like all these
and
little
again
things.
The way we played it this year.
There's so much here, and it's so dense. I feel like to truly critique this, you would have to put hundreds of hours into this trilogy. Like a long time.
And some people have, and those are the people that can...
And I'll bet you almost all of them would say it's an absolute masterwork.
And I would agree. It's not my favorite game by any means, but I would happily entertain and probably even agree that it is a stroke of genius.
I discovered,
the whole series,
by the way, on that note, as someone who's a pretty big fan of stealth games, I've found, far too late, my favorite way to play this game.
Pray tell.
Suit only.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That sounds really great.
It's so tough, because you got to be, like, it's far more about knowing the environment, than knowing the stratums, I guess.
Is that what the community calls it, suit only?
Yeah, they call it something like that. I've seen that kind of terminology before. But yeah, just suit only, and you go in and you just do your best. You
just start with the beginning disguise, or you put on one of the suits in the...
You start with a suit, and you go in full, like, that's it.
I would like to put on, like, the tuxedo or something.
Yeah, I did that.
Because there's a few things you can choose in the very beginning.
Excluding the parts where I wanted to see what would happen when I tried to... like when I had to wear a certain costume to get a certain event to happen, for the whole Mendoza, I just did suit only, pretty much.
That makes sense.
And
that would be a good level to do it.
It was
and
so
Dartmoor.
much fun. Yeah, that's the other one I want to go back.
He's wearing a plaid pea coat.
It looks great.
It looks really good.
He always looks great.
He always looks great, indeed. Even in his stupid, I forget which level it is, but he wears board shorts and flip-flops in one of the levels. So I think that's what he starts in.
One of my favorite meme formats, because my favorite costume is a clown costume. One of my favorite meme formats is the guy who's just slowly putting clown makeup on, and it's this big reveal of something. Like, someone posted on my work chat today, like, you've been working hard all year, trying to make sure you have enough room so you don't get called in on Christmas. Yeah, you did a good job. And it's just like the clown at the end, because of course you're going to get called in on Christmas. It happens every year.
Every year.
It's great. Anyway.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. I just wanted to take a moment to talk about really how good this game is. It's Hitman. Most of you probably have a pretty good idea of what it is. There is just a wealth of systems here for you to have fun. Each level is a unique little sandbox. And I definitely recommend starting with the first one, but through Hitman 3. I think this is where all of the systems have sort of... we are going to take a quick break again because we got some more cocktails.
Boop, boop. Hey guys, we're back with our third and final drink for the night. Nick has made us a Rob Roy, my every night drinker. Every night, that sounds like a drink every night.
You should.
I mean, I almost do, but my this is kind of my if I'm just gonna have a drink one night, it's gonna be a Rob Roy. It's gonna be 2 parts Scotch, 1 part sweet vermouth, and some Peychaud's bitters. Absolutely delightful drink. Nick gave us this awesome skewer and lemon peel.
Can I put the lemon in here?
Yeah, fine? Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
It's nice.
Because I can't we have different glasses, the rim here. I can't drink very well. You just got him these for Christmas, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
These, I was telling them, are more like lapel pins. You can't see them very well. They're gorgeous.
Yeah.
And just if I had a little spot for a lapel pin, I'd put it in
right
there. Anyhow.
So you mentioned the word sandbox just a moment ago.
I did.
And I want to talk about that because this is one of the things that I think makes this game really stand out, is that it definitely has those sandbox playground elements, but it's not to its benefit, not as loose as something like GTA 5. It's by no means a structured, experience to the point of like Uncharted 4 or something, right? Uncharted 2, very meticulously, very carefully structured and paced to elicit very certain types of emotions and reactions in the player, right? It doesn't have that, but it's also not this loose kind of make your own fun. Like to the point where the reason I had fun in GTA 5 is because Amanda and I would just buy BMX bikes and try to kill as many people as possible as the BMX maniac. I didn't play Grand Theft Auto 5, I played Grand Theft Auto 5, like everybody else does. I'm one of the only people I know who's actually finished the story of Grand Theft Auto 5. Hitman, though, is way more structured than it lets you believe. Like we were talking about a little earlier, right? But that goes far deeper than just where it guides you and where it leads you. There are limitations to what you're capable of in this game. And those limitations lead to ingenuity. You have to have those limitations in place. Right, it's the same. The same is true of like every game. Think of any board game, right? Is made because of what you can't do, because of the boundaries in place. That's what makes it, equal for all players or whatever. It's the boundaries, and the boundaries here are set like they are weighed and measured. I can't imagine how much time went into Hitman 2016 to get this just right, to where the player feels like they can truly take advantage of this system without breaking some very important rules that would ruin their experience. And it's not something I have the words for exactly that I could, quantify and measure in a way that I would deem, appropriate. I'm sure someone else has dug a lot deeper into this, but it's this kind of middle ground sandbox. And I believe it's better for it. I'd like to see more games like this.
Yeah, I fully agree. I don't have a lot more to say about the game. I've mentioned a couple times some minor gripes, the cinematic stuff. This one's really nitpicking here, but they went with an interesting cutscene style in the original 2 games. The first one, I think, was probably because of budgetary constraints. The second one, they leaned into it, made it a little more flashier. They could have done that here, but they went full in-engine cutscenes just completely to their detriment.
They don't look pretty.
They are so ugly. I told you the people are grotesque, which is a huge contrast from everything else in the game, which is gorgeous, like the Chungking level. It's neon on the rain.
Yes.
It's so good.
It's like it's Blade Runner as a level. It's so gorgeous.
Yeah. I do want to talk about the compound when we get there. Are we going to go through every level?
Let's do. I have one more kind of major point, so let's go through at least 2 more levels. I'll bring up a major point, then we can wrap it up.
Sure. Was Chungking next? I forget.
No, the next level was the Rave.
Okay.
Which Tyler mentioned already. They tried something new. Instead of having kind of some explicit targets that have explicit routines, you have 5. Right? Is it 5?
5, yes.
5 other ICA agents who are gunning for you, and you have to take them out before they get you, basically.
Yeah, but they don't know you're here, right?
I don't know.
Because they're not actually hunting you. You're not being hunted.
I feel like
I think they are
sometimes
there
they saw me
you...
and just like went after me.
Oh, that didn't happen with me.
Oh, okay. Maybe you're right then. Maybe I'm still hunting them, but
maybe they're trying to draw you out or something. I don't know, but I didn't feel hunted.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. Maybe that was just the first 2 guys that I saw, because the other 3 were just like, I just took them out.
Yeah, I don't know why they would be there though. I mean, I didn't pay very close attention to the story, but the level is called Apex Predator. You are the hunter,
which is a great title for a level.
Yes,
where you play as a hitman.
Yeah, and this is where that cinematic scene with the we say cinematic. It was playable, but you're walking around a gas station, lights are flickering, it's abandoned.
Yeah, what I mean by cinematic, is like it's more structured in a way a film would build tension than a video game would.
Yeah, like as you mentioned, an Uncharted game or a Naughty Dog game in general, which I have some thoughts about Last of Us 2 that I want to share with you later.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
I'm always down to talk about Last of Us 2.
Yeah. So anyway, great start to this level. I think this is a pretty big swing and a miss for them. This is my only major criticism of the game. We are removing the last level from the conversation from now on. It isn't intended to be a level like this. It is what it is. They chose to put it there.
We're done talking about it.
Yeah. Whatever. It's not like one of these levels. It's not supposed to be. So this, however, is intended to be a Hitman level and a new way to play the Hitman level. As you mentioned, 5 targets. None of them are marked. You have to find them all. This, I believe, is pretty far and away the largest Hitman level so far. That's certainly what I felt.
Which is, even if it's not large, it has the most levels, like, tiers. Like,
there are 3 buildings, each of them 3 huge buildings. There's some smaller buildings around them, but 3 buildings, all in various levels of disarray and construction, that are anywhere from 3 to 6 levels high. Basement and up to the ceiling. They're huge.
And you have to find these 5 targets who are, disguised.
Yeah. And there's the major complex, which is 6 stories and is huge. Just like it's pretty sprawling. And, even more so the full level. But I was on, I think, my 4th target. I was looking for the 4th. So I'd already killed 3. Which was in the main rave compound. I was not intoxicated at all. I had all of my faculties. I was paying close attention. I spent nearly 2 hours.
It took me a long time too.
Just to get out of the building. I kept getting turned around. I was going through vents, climbing up ladders, just walking around places that kept turning me in circles. And by the time I finally got back there, where I might normally realize I'm running in circles, it had been so long that I had completely forgotten. And it's too much. I like the idea of a sort of free-form level. It really is a good idea, but this is, I think, the most ambitious level. It's the most targets, the most buildings. The only one that comes anywhere close, I think, is it Colorado in the first game? You've got the 3 houses targets. And the 3 terrorist people.
Michael Myers.
Yeah. But that one wasn't as difficult to get around. Because everybody was marked.
And it's flat, yeah.
Yeah, there's 2-story houses. But
I agree that I feel like it's a level that, as you play it more, I have a feeling will respond better, if that makes any sense. Maybe not be as good as the other levels. I did like when I played it. I liked playing it because it was kind of shake up of the formula.
I liked the beginning. Again, I was on the 4th target. Those 3 targets were... I got it. I understood what it was going for.
I think what they should have done is had 10 targets. You only have to kill 5.
Sure. Something like that. Or go down to maybe just 3 targets and 2 buildings. I think it's too much. I think it's completely overwhelming. And I don't get overwhelmed very easy. I play a lot of freaking video games. Okay, this is what I do. I was completely overwhelmed here. Even in SMT, which we'll talk about in a bit, when you are going through the tutorial for fusions, it says, hey, maybe don't use this option. It could overwhelm you. I'm like, no, let me dive in there right now. I want to see 100 demons.
Yeah.
I want to pick out everything I want right now.
Compendium.
Yeah, the reverse compendium.
That's the best.
Yeah, I didn't use the other ones. I mean, I did for some very specific reasons.
Sure,
but
like
I was in the reverse
that to see what I can get at my level currently. Right
yeah,
now.
it warns you that it's going to be overwhelmed. And I'm like, no,
I
give it to me now.
am missing. I think I'm level 52. I'm only missing like 3 demons. I think.
Very nice for you.
Yeah.
It's very good. It is very good. However, I won't be finishing it. We'll talk about that later. But anyway, it's just I can't remember the last time I was not just annoyed. It wasn't not for me. I was completely overwhelmed, and I think they really overshot what they're capable of here. Not what they're capable of. What the systems are capable. I think it was really pushed to its limit, and it reached that limit, in my opinion, here with the Rave Compound.
Sure. And again, I'd like to see what happens if you play it, 3, 4, 5 times.
Or see what an elusive target is like in that. That seems like it would be crazy. Yeah. Because once you figure it out, like
once you know your way around by heart, like once you've played it like 3 or 4 times, I wonder what would change.
I do as well. But for a first playthrough, it was
of course.
Very, very difficult.
But then we get to I think, aside from Dartmoor, my favorite level.
I think I'd agree. Yeah, I agree.
Chunking,
it was very good.
Again, we've talked about it multiple times already, but
my favorite moments were in that. I prefer the Dartmoor Mansion, but the most fun I had was
I was about to say I had the most fun in this level. The way I played through it is you kind of go into the tower, and one of the targets at the top of this like kind of tower. It's a building with a couple floors.
Yeah. And
so you go up to the top of this building, and then you can cross over to the building where the other target is and go down, and she's at the very bottom of that building. It's really fun. I would just walk around sometimes and hear someone go, "What was that code again?" Oh yeah, it was, you can just find these little moments. And there are so many times where if you just are a little patient, someone will go, I'm going to go inside. Oh, I'll come in right after you and finish my smoke or whatever. And you're like, oh, a free costume. It's a really delightful level. Very easy to play. This is one that I would this is one I'd kind of encourage people, like newer people, if they're like, oh, I want to play a really good level, but I don't know where to start. And they're like, oh, if you just want to pick one, like play Hitman 3, go for this level. It's great. It's a blast.
Yeah. I think it's, unlike Dartmoor, which again is currently our favorite, though Chungking could probably pretty easily become our favorite, certainly for me as well, at least. But I would agree with you because obviously the first level is the introduction. I think it's the best introduction. But if you just want to dive in, Dartmoor has some limitations that would make it difficult for you to just play around in. Chungking, because the targets are enclosed in these 2 separate buildings, you can really just have your way with the level.
And it's a blast.
I think that would be the one as well.
It's just that ending section where you're kind of locked in and have to escape that
you can't maybe that's the wrong way to phrase it, or not a good way to phrase it, but like have your way with the level in Dartmoor. You have to do the things. Yeah. In the Dartmoor level, but really you can just do what you want in Chungking. So the 2 things here that really stand out. The first kill. So you mentioned you killed the guy, then walked across and killed the girl that's at the bottom of this 5-story building. So that was my first target. Was the woman. I played the game a little differently. It's sort of the story starts to go in a particular direction. That seems like everything is out for revenge now. And I started killing people where typically I would not. I would try to knock them out somehow. But, I did get that message from the 2 homeless men that we talked about. But then I went to the top of this, the building on the right side of the level. And I started killing everybody. And there's some drones around. I shot those drones. And this building, which again is like 5 stories or something, has a courtyard in the middle of it. So it's a square building with a courtyard down there. So I shot someone down in the courtyard, which I guess the target must have seen, because suddenly target lockdown happened. and she ran up the stairwell inside the building and outside to the roof. And only her, no guards. So it was really gorgeous. I really do. I did love this moment. I hunted everybody on top of the roof. It was clean kills all around. And I'm walking away. I didn't realize that was happening because I wasn't using my Witcher vision to see her. But I was walking away and I hear the door behind me fling open. And I turn around, and it really is, it's gorgeous. The rain everywhere, the neon shining on the rain and the concrete. It's so nice. She's running in the opposite direction and didn't see me. And, you get the prompt, that's so-and-so. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. And I just shoot her in the back.
Incredible.
And then she drops a key card that you don't need till the end of after you kill both targets.
Yeah.
You need at the end of the game. So I just had that for whatever reason. I didn't know what it was for until the end there. But it was just really fun for her to realize that I was not there, and that kill accidentally smoked her out.
It's those systems building, just constantly layering on top of each other.
It was a lot of fun.
It's so good.
I didn't like the other target as much.
Oh, I did.
I did the scripted so that kill was obviously unscripted. I did the scripted thing where you disguise yourself as a homeless guy. You go into the test rooms. It was interesting. Excuse me. The whole area was interesting, but it was almost a little too scripted what I went through. Sure. I'd like to play it again to see what's possible.
I got through actually mostly just in suit, whatever you started as. I got through some windows and stuff and snuck up, and then I pretended to be one of the test subjects and killed them with my brain.
Yeah.
It was great.
In suit. So I'll actually talk about Last of Us 2 now. If I play this game again, I think I'm going to try the, suit only run. That does seem like a lot of fun, and maybe even on the harder difficulty, where saves are limited and there's more cameras and things like that. But I was watching some gameplay of Last of Us 2 last week, and I don't know why. Oh yeah, YouTube just occasionally recommends look how awesome this kill is or whatever.
Okay, let's do this.
And I watch them every time. And it looked like, and I don't know if you can do this, but the accessibility is so vast. The accessibility options here. It looked like automatic headshots were on, which I think I'd like to turn on. And then turn everything else all the way up. Because Ellie would be able to kill everybody. Ellie is not using a controller to control her gun. So, as Ellie, she would be able to kill people typically with one shot. So I think I'd like to turn everything up all the way to make it as difficult as possible, but one shot. And play at, almost strictly a stealth game.
That'd be interesting.
Turn the enemy sensibility all the way, their auditory senses all the way up. Turn just all the difficulty stuff, except for that one accessibility option, if it exists, for automatic headshots. So all I have to do is sneak through. I can kill them easily, but it would turn it into a different game.
I like that.
I think. So I just kind of want to try that out sometime. Anyhow, that was
sure.
That was on the side.
Well, let me kind of bring up my last big point I wanted to talk about. And it's interesting to me that even though these games are now being released as complete packages, all 6 levels, January, whatever, here you go, full game. Even though, Hitman 2016 was released episode 1, 2, 3, 4. This is how episodic content should still be built, in my opinion. And I think it was a good excuse to do episodic content in a way that I don't think was money grubbing in a way a lot of other people do it, a lot of other publishers, because every level is not only designed to be played multiple times, but rewards multiple playthroughs, and not even just now you can start from here, or, I'm talking about your mastery of that space, and it it deserves you diving into it. Basically, it earns that commitment from the player because it is so well designed, and there's so much depth there. It reminds me a lot of Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes, which was, unfortunately, Konami pushed for a release in 2014 because Metal Gear Solid 5 was taking a very long time. You gotta remember that Metal Gear Solid 4 was 2008, and they hadn't had a game. It was 2014 at the time, and they hadn't had a game for 6 years in the Metal Gear series. And for them, that's like, oh no, it's the end of the world.
On the main line, right?
And yeah, well,
did they not consider
Peace Walker, I guess, counts as...
No, the action game with like Raiden or something like that.
Oh, Raiden. No, because I don't think they truly...
Oh, that was also Team Ninja, right?
Yeah, exactly, because it wasn't developed... Yeah, it wasn't developed in-house, technically. And that was
Rising. Is that what that is?
Rising Revengeance. The best title of all time.
Thank you for that one.
So Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes was... Actually, many people, this has never been officially announced, but many fans speculate it was meant to be the prologue. Just like Metal Gear Solid 2 has a prologue, they thought it was meant to be the prologue to 5. And you actually infiltrate Guantanamo Bay.
Okay.
And in my opinion, it has some of... I believe it was one of the main inspirations for Hitman 2016. Because it is one massive interconnected level with multiple major areas that you can, like, really rewards multiple playthroughs. And
when did this come out?
2014. And it really rewards multiple playthroughs. It's not quite as robust of, a game as 5 truly became, right? It's not as big, not as many options, but that level stands as probably the best level in any Metal Gear game. It is so rich, and I mean, not only rewards you in terms of gameplay, but even the story content you unlock and the little conversations you can overhear from people. The graffiti on the wall that people have pieced together to show Kojima is pissed at working for Konami. Like, there's so much depth in this one level.
Wait, stop talking about Metal Gear. I need to hear about this graffiti. Please tell me about it.
Oh, I don't know. It's been ages since I watched it, but just little things about ownership and the Metal Gear series and things like that.
But it's like a puzzle?
No, it's not like a puzzle. It's just people have pieced it together because of.
All right. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. I don't know enough about it. I maybe shouldn't have brought it up, but there's a Futura Sound, I believe the name of the YouTuber is. He has a really good series on Ground Zeroes where he digs deep into that stuff. So check him out if you're interested in that little rabbit hole. But it's reminds me a lot of Hitman's formula, and a formula that I think deserves an episodic release. I think that each one is truly meant to be played for 6 to 8 hours minimum, maybe 10. Some of these levels really deserve you diving deep into them.
Especially with the elusive targets.
Yeah,
because you can just keep going back to them for totally new things to do. Without the elusive targets, it is just the same targets in the level, and each target might have 5 ways to take them out.
5 scripted ways.
Yeah, 5 scripted ways. Yeah, you're right.
But
the elusive targets make the game what you're talking about.
At the very least, show that the game has that available, that the level design and the mechanics, the fundamentals of those mechanics are capable of delivering countless experiences. What a testament, man. Yes, what a testament.
It is something pretty unique, very special. I won't totally disagree with you about Metal Gear. I'm sure that is partially the case, but that's a short turnaround. Like,
I wouldn't. I mean, I just thought, like, why not?
I'm sorry. Let's move on.
No. It's just a little, like,
from what I was saying. I mean,
tidbit.
Yeah. I look forward to playing that game. I think
you're gonna like it.
No, specifically, Ground Zeroes. I mean,
yeah, you'll get a lot out of it.
Yeah, if I have time, during our break, I might try to knock it out then. Just give myself a little teaser.
You should. It's you will.
Because I don't think we'll be able to fit it in with the full episode.
No, Phantom Pain's a 55-hour game.
Yeah.
Minimum. And
so that's coming up.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. I would encourage you to at least check it out. Either look up real quick or ping me real quick. There are some kind of mechanics that carry over throughout the series that they're not going to explicitly tell you. Some of the more like nuanced mechanics that I believe, because they're in the manual and stuff, I believe they should be a little bit more forward facing. Like, I get that it's a little overwhelming for a new player, but I mean, everything from holding up, disarming, the different styles of knocking people out. Like, really, these things I think should be, especially for people who play a lot of games, like, they should be front and center. They're the meat and potatoes of really getting the most out of these games.
Pete and potatoes.
The Pete and potatoes.
As Billiam likes to say.
He's a beautiful man.
Listen.
I love you.
We are nothing, okay? But if you're watching us and have not watched Billiam, thank you. Also, go watch Billiam. Just like it sounds, Billiam. He reviews the 90s, and it's magic.
He's magic.
Yes.
I love him.
Yeah.
Billiam, I hope you're doing great right now.
Me too, Billiam. Thanks.
We love you. So yeah, that's all I got to say on Hitman 3, man. Do you have anything else you kind of want to touch base on?
Let me take these subscription glasses off and take a look. Prescription, I mean. Subscription, yeah.
Yeah, you gotta pay $10 a month to have glasses.
Just like using your key fob.
Yeah, your car.
What did you call that?
OPEX.
OPEX versus what?
CapEx.
CapEx. Yeah, I was learning about how fancy rich people cars, all the bells and whistles you get, it's becoming commonplace for those to be subscription services. Like, Toyota literally charges you a monthly fee to start your car with the key fob. That's insane. Anyway, insane. I don't have anything else here. Fantastic. And I think it's time for us to take a very short break.
I agree.
And come back with the next two games.
Fantastic.
All right. We'll be back in just a moment. And we are back.
Huzzah!
Huzzah! Huzzah! Indeed. We had a pretty big moment earlier this year. We took a break, a little bit of a hiatus for about a month and a half.
Break.
I think.
Yeah, I was about to say break isn't the right word.
Yeah, it was.
We played a 105-hour game.
Dude, I have 180 hours clocked in Persona 5.
That's crazy.
Royale specifically, but we played Persona 5 finally, and we're playing the follow-up to Persona 5.
Yeah, shut your mouth.
No, we know better. But we really wanted to jump into SMT proper to see what that's all about. We know the differences. We're only going to mention them here for the sake of those that might not know. Though Persona, up to, which it's not anymore, but up to Persona 4 Golden, has sort of officially been a part of the Shin Megami Tensei series. It has dropped the moniker. It is now just Persona. But it is a different take on the formula, using a lot of the same mechanics, but giving you a completely different game. Shin Megami Tensei 5, Persona 5, very different games, and we know that. Where Persona, you're getting a lot of those dating sim elements, the slice of life anime sort of stuff.
There's a whole dedication to relationships and the impact that has on combat, and of course how those relationships then build and impact other relationships.
And combat is not the main focus of the game.
No, it's so much more about those relationships.
Whereas here, combat's the only.
And you got
focus.
7 big dungeons, Persona 5.
Yeah.
You got 8 in Royal. Like, just big dungeons. That's all you're doing. You're coming in and out of them, really.
Whereas combat was one of the lesser points of Persona 5 to me. Combat is literally the only good thing about this game.
Whoa, hey.
Okay, I'm sorry. The soundtrack's really good. And
I like the world, the space. And
it's pretty bland in my opinion. We'll get to that. I won't jump ahead. But the movement's pretty good. It feels good to slide down a sand dune.
Sure.
Every time. It feels very
And
good.
the music's great, like you said. There's some really awesome metal tracks out of nowhere later in the game.
That's hyperbole. I'm sorry. I shouldn't use hyperbole as often as I do. But the major pillars of this game
fusion combat.
Are fusion and combat. Narrative is a major pillar of this game. It's not good.
It's
at all.
Bland, guys.
It is, and I don't use this often on the podcast anyway. I think it's actual trash. I think it's not good at all. It is elementary. I wrote something better in middle school.
Which sucks because like the setting and the space and the world they've created is very interesting. Like this whole idea, like capitalizing on the whole kind of Genesis creation myth and the separation of knowledge from immortal life. And like,
from what I hear,
and that's pretty common for the SMT games.
Yeah.
Like that's your goal is to kill God in a lot of them. That's it. Again, each JRPG, you're trying to kill God. Like that's just what you do in JRPGs, you know? But again, like when you have a world like that, it's such a shame when you have this trash story. And again, this is the first one that I'm aware of, at least, where you're a high school student who gets thrown into this. Like, typically, like, you're a member of this already really
sort of an Attack on Titan situation.
Yeah, like, it's not
okay.
Yeah, it's not like... That. I don't know, and I don't know this for sure, obviously.
Isn't 3 a high schooler?
I don't know. I don't know much about
4 looks like... I don't know either. Do not quote me on anything.
4 is like a full operatic.
4 seems to be a sort of military situation.
Yeah, full operatic kind of narrative where you aren't. It's not the unsuspecting hero thrust into the limelight or whatever. It's not that at all. It's very interesting, but of course, like any SMT game, it has chaos versus order instead of good versus evil or light versus dark. Mm-hmm. Those kinds of narrative elements. But again, like. You have such a rich demon compendium and an interesting world and kind of format. And I really like the apocalypse being set in Japan and kind of a separate Japan. And there's, it starts out just kind of, generic sand dunes and structures. But then you kind of get into these oasis places and then it kind of, shadows out. Then there's these big structures and it becomes more generic post-apocalyptic. But then all these little things, like, it's a really interesting space to inhabit, and I like it.
I'll give you that. It's kind of interesting. I don't think it's bad.
I don't know, man. Seeing Tokyo Tower buried under a bunch of sand is really cool.
Sure, it's not terrible. However, I forgot one thing about Persona 5 that I want to bring up here.
Okay.
Is this school just straight up the school from Persona 5?
It might be.
I think it's that layout.
Yeah.
I think it's just the entire building reused.
And you know what?
Which is fine. I don't care.
Which is fine. I bet
it
you
just
that's
felt
how
familiar.
A lot of Japanese high schools might be. I don't know. I've never been
Maybe.
to Japan.
It just felt like, I've been walking down this hallway for 180 hours. I don't need to be here again.
This hallway.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not going to claim that Persona is the superior format for this series. I've only played SMT5. All that I personally know is I think Persona 5 is a better game than SMT5, but I don't think it's because of the format necessarily.
And that's not also a direct comparison.
Yeah.
We're not saying that it's a better Shin Megami Tensei game, because it's not a Shin Megami Tensei game. They dropped the SMT moniker with Persona 4 Golden. It was still there with Persona 4, but 4 Golden, 5, and 5 Royale.
It's really kind of,
are their own thing now.
5 is the most successful. Is it the most successful Atlas game? I know it's the most successful SMT game.
I'm sure.
And
it has become Skyrim
don't know
level.
People don't know it's a spin-off. It's not spin-off anymore, it's mainline. And so with that though, SMT is very much a JRPG. It doesn't have a lot of... Oh, go ahead.
Well, before we get too deep, because
yes.
it's going to be hard to just cut in. We are school kids in this SMT world, so we can't drink. However, I have some Coca-Cola here. Coca-Cola with wine. That was weird. It's a cocktail. I forget what they're called. They have an actual name. How do you say that?
Kalimotko?
That might not be the right one. But anyway, this is supposedly like a legitimate cocktail. Wine and Coke, just like a Jack and Coke. But this is from Fairweather. Fairweather, which has been featured here before, will be featured again because I live a few blocks away and I love them. This is one of their wines they made last year.
This is really weird.
And straight up Coke.
This is really weird.
Yeah, but I'm okay with it.
I don't know how I feel about it yet. Let me get a little further in.
But I'll have yours if you don't want it.
No, I think I like it. It's just very unique so far.
Yeah, of course. It's Coca-Cola and wine. Why would you ever think to do that?
So, SMT definitely plays more like a traditional JRPG. It doesn't have, Persona 5 is really, honestly, a very unique format. I guess just specifically Persona 4 and 5, the two that I would say are probably the most similar. Mm-hmm. I haven't played the earlier ones. I know they have quite a few differences.
3 seems to be doing a lot similar. Yeah. 4 is the completion of that. Yep. But 5 is an evolution. 3 does enough.
I wouldn't say evolution of 4, it's just a different take on what 4 did, I'd say.
I don't know enough about 4, but they all look pretty similar, but 4 seems to be the true convergence of it all, and then there is some evolution in 5.
1 and 2 seem pretty set apart from what I can tell.
I mean they're more closer to SMT.
Yeah. All that to say, I think SMT, especially compared to something like Persona 4 or 5, definitely plays more like what I would consider a traditional JRPG. That being said, I struggle to finish JRPGs. I am hooked here. My biggest complaint with a lot of JRPGs is you typically have, almost always, and not always, but even if you don't, let me explain, I guess. So you usually have a party, and if you don't, you have one character. And a lot of times you typically build a strong party, and you kind of have a good synergy with that party, and you carry that party to the end of the game, and you beat the final boss, and that's it. I know that's the case that I experienced. With think Final Fantasy 1. Final Fantasy 1, you have your 4 characters that you selected at the beginning. That's who you have. It's a synergy of, you pick to do 2 warriors, a mage, and a healer, that's what a black mage and a white mage. That's what you picked. Now that's your whole synergy for the whole game. And while that's an old game, I still see a lot of games doing stuff like that. I think that's what kills it a lot for me. So, for example, some of the JRPGs I have finished and been hooked on are things like the original Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy V, right? These, I just named 2 Final Fantasy games, but you know what I mean? These games that honestly offer a lot of diversity. For example, Final Fantasy V, for anybody who's played Tactics, plays a lot like Tactics, where you master a job, and now you can carry that job's skills over to another job when you switch jobs. So you can kind of mix and match your own classes. So you're kind of constantly evolving and working towards kind of a master class and of your own making. It's a really awesome way to keep the player invested and not bored in a 35-hour long game.
You know what I think you really like, Zach, and you just don't know it?
Tell me.
Monster catching games, man. That's what monster catching games do.
I mean, I like Pokemon and I like SMT.
Yeah. You should play some Digimon.
I want to play Digimon.
Which is not the same. Digimon World's very different. I'm sorry. I
do want to play those anyway.
Digimon World is more Tamagotchi than it is the original one anyway. Than it is Pokemon. However,
those are all really different games, right?
All of them.
1 through 4.
All of them are complete. I mean, really... 4, I think, is more of a dungeon crawling.
That's what it looks like. It looks like Mystery Dungeon or something.
Yeah, or not even. I would say more like Champions of Norath or Dark Alliance.
Champions of Norath looks good. I need to play that game.
Well, we need to play it. That's a co-op game through. I mean, you could play it by yourself, but
don't.
You're sad if you do. I wouldn't even call you a loser. That's mean. It's just a sad existence.
Wow. We still love you. Please listen to us.
I'll play it with you. I'll come over and play it with you. You shouldn't play those games by yourself, is the point. However, just play some monster catching games, man. Those are fun.
See, and that's what I guess I'm getting at is JRPGs often, I think the best ones are trying to circumvent that. Either you're carried, like a lot of people get carried through these games on a really strong narrative, and that doesn't always do it for someone like me. So, and think of Final Fantasy IV, right? Even though you're not building your own party, your party is constantly switching out. Like, who's available to you in FF4?
I'm sorry?
Final Fantasy IV?
Yeah.
Is constantly changing.
Yeah.
So that's a good way to keep it fresh. Okay, I got some new characters. How can I make a good synergy with who I have? Who's high level? Like, things like that. So I definitely respect games that do that well. And
Final Fantasy IV also lets you use the strategies you're building. Unlike plenty of RPGs I've played, if you're building a party based on, what's her name, Rydia, casting debuffs, and then another party member buffing those debuffs, you can do that on a boss, which is great. I absolutely, I did this in Returnal. It's happened a couple times this year where I'm using an explicitly encouraged playstyle, and it gets me to a point where that playstyle is literally irrelevant. You cannot win with it.
Yeah.
Like the shotgun and sword, all the way up to the third boss.
The third boss which ruins so many strategies.
Which is just on, like, it's worlds away. You have to use a ranged, like, it's fucking stupid.
Yeah, I agree. That is one thing I do agree is not that great in that game, which I think is an absolute knockout fantastic game.
Even though I couldn't finish it, not that I didn't finish it, I couldn't finish it. I accepted my defeat with respect. It was a worthy adversary, and we will have more to say about it to come.
Definitely. All that to say that I think the Demon Fusion system, which was awesome in Persona, but what's nice about Persona is you do have your kind of party members who all get experiences you do, so you can, if you get stuck, you can switch them out, and it's pretty forgiving game. Persona 5 is a very forgiving game, I've found. And you have your static party members. There's no static party members here. You have you, and then
your monsters,
your monsters, 3 monsters, and then whoever's in your back catalog who do get experience as well. But what's nice about this game is, let's say you hit a boss that you can use that strategy against, but maybe they're actually heavily resistant to poison, and your whole strat was built on poison. Well, instead of going, well, crap, now I have to go grind and, just kind of, force my way through it, you go, okay, let me go back. There are essences, so now you can teach your demons new moves from the essences of demons you get either from exploring the world or from leveling up your demons. You go, okay, I got these essences. I can teach my current demons new moves, totally redo that. Or I can fuse new demons from the ones that I have, or maybe level up once to get access to some new fusions. And let me just build an entirely new party in maybe 30 minutes. You have a whole new party with a whole new strategy. You walk in and barrel that boss. You know what I mean? It's there's so
with
much
monsters that you wouldn't even be using otherwise.
You wouldn't think to use.
I mean, he's pretty good, but I typically would not use Jack Frost. But one of the bosses, I switched into Jack Frost and completely eviscerated him.
Yeah, and it's so satisfying.
Yes.
It's so satisfying to do that. I'm constantly fusing demons. And for me, as someone who gets pretty disenfranchised with a game if it stagnates like that, especially a long one, I'm rebuilding my party every 30 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
My whole party.
I did not find myself doing that too much because I use the compendium to, and you're probably,
which is basically, it shows you every demon you've ever fused.
It's the Pokedex.
And they're basically every demon that you have had in your party at any time, either from recruiting them or from fusing them. Basically everyone you've ever had, it shows every combination possible all the way up through as high as it goes. Even things you can't fuse because it's too high of a level for you.
Yeah.
Shows you all these things. So you can plan ahead. You can.
That's the thing. We're playing it a little differently. I found a play style, or rather a few different builds, for my 3 party members that I really like, and that had a pretty good flow for the turn, which we have to talk about the turn economy.
Of course.
It's the whole point of this game. It's combat anyway. So I use the reverse compendium fusion. There are 3 ways to fuse your demons. Just the ones you have currently in your party. Do any of them mix? You have the reverse fusion, which you look at all of the ones that are available with the monsters you currently have. So you can either look at the components or the results. You can look at it either way. The reverse compendium fusion is, here are the results for every monster you've ever caught that you can repurchase. So I almost exclusively use that. As we mentioned before, it warns you, hey, this is not for new players. It's going to overwhelm you. I'm like, no, shut up. Get me there. I want to see all of them right now. Because I said we weren't going to mention Persona 5. All the monsters are the same, with a few exceptions. There are some new ones.
And they always shuffle
or
the
some
levels
excluded.
Of who's weaker and who's stronger. They do
Yeah,
that
like
time.
some like level 20 in Persona might be a level 55 here. So it's all shuffled. None of them mean the same thing, but they are similar enough monsters. So I just wanted to see them all, and I found very early on in the first level, a few different builds that I really enjoyed, especially a really high critical rate physical attacker. So I would be level 11 and look at my level 50 fusion options and then see how I can carry that through. And the guy I currently had, there's really no way to directly get there through fusion. So I would have to fuse him up. When you fuse something, by the way, you can carry over skills from the 2 or 3 monsters that you're fusing. So
Or 4.
Sure. Some of them take up to 4. So you can choose the skills you want to have the new demon inherit. So the whole idea is to go in this for me anyway, this really like zigzagging path of fusions. I'm going to fuse this demon up 3 more tiers to carry his skills up there. But that's not where I want to be. That doesn't get me to Yoshimitsu. He
has carried me so
the
far.
physical attacker that I want, the high critical physical attacker.
And he has I don't think I've had another demon. He's, I think, 5 levels beneath me now, and there's still no demon that comes close to his strength stat.
Yeah, I'm looking at your compendium because I didn't finish this game. I'm nowhere near his
aside
level.
from level 60 characters, there's no character.
Yeah, and he's like level 41 or something. He's really low.
I've gotten him up to 49 right now.
But yeah, way higher level demons that are intended to be physical attackers are not doing anything. It's like he's so good. For how early, I say early, he's late game, but like
he has an 8
the bottom of the late game.
He has an 8-hit guaranteed critical attack.
That's so good. That's so good.
Which hits randomly, but if you're fighting a boss and then you use that magic ability that boosts the strength of the person's attack, and it just obliterates bosses.
So good,
it's crazy.
So with the fusion, I'm trying to carry this skill all the way up to Yoshimitsu. All of these critical enhancements, but there's no direct path. So I'll take my skeleton guy that has some critical boosts, get him up 3 tiers, like up to a level 30 demon, fuse it all the way back down to a level 10 demon, to then follow up another fusion path to get to one of the options for Yoshimitsu.
You can pretty much get any move on any demon.
Yes, through this
essences,
convoluted fusion system, which I mean, the system itself is not that convoluted, but if that's how you want your Yoshimitsu to be built, you gotta work your way around that, and that's where a lot of my time was spent, was in the fusion menu. I probably left it running once or twice, but I have not significantly less time than you. And am way behind.
Yeah,
I think I have like 20. I probably have, accounting for leaving it on, I probably have 22 hours in it, and I'm in the second area.
Wow. I am wrapping up the second to last area, and I have 30.
There are 5 areas, right?
I don't. There are, but there's really 4 and then an end game. The end game doesn't take up as much of the full area, basically, from what I understand.
So, this game offers. This is the first SMT game we've played, but just from what we know of the previous games, I
want to play 3 and 4 very badly now.
Yeah, I want to play 2 the most. We both have Vitas.
SMT?
Shin Megami Tensei 2. Oh no, Persona 2 is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I want to play Persona 2 pretty badly.
Yeah,
but for SMT, I want to play 3 and 4 very badly.
I want to play 4 most. So even before I really knew what SMT was, it's hard to miss if you are paying attention to video games. If you're a pretty passive consumer of video games, you're not really entrenched in there. Sure, it's easy enough to miss. Maybe not as much after Persona
5, yeah.
Persona 5 is really hard to miss. Persona 5, I really think it's in the upper echelon of video games.
I think Persona
Skyrim,
5,
Witcher, Persona 5, I think they're all up there.
I think Persona 5 I'm so glad that happened for Atlas. Atlas has deserved it for so long.
Yes.
Atlas produces quality content on a quarter of the budget Square Enix has.
Yes.
Persona 5...
Oh my God, Zach. I've been thinking all week, for no reason, it just happens, once a month probably, about Catherine. I cannot wait for you to play Catherine.
And
I think, upon the next playthrough, it'll be in my top 10. For no reason. And the reason I want you to play it more than anything is so you can properly illustrate my feelings. Because I have no idea why I love it.
Bravely Default, not Bravely Default, sorry, Radiant Historia. Dude, Atlas puts out fantastic video games.
Yeah, bro.
Baroque! I have Baroque on Wii on my shelf. These guys make incredible video games.
Is Baroque good?
It's interesting, and something no
it's interesting.
big publisher would do.
Is that expensive now?
No, not at all. Pick it up, man.
Yeah, I should.
I think it's like $15.
Yeah, I should. It's always been on my list.
It looks fantastic.
I've passed it up so many times. Catherine, get yourself a copy, Catherine.
Yeah, I'm getting the PS3, like you said. Yeah. So I'm getting the PS3 copy. PS3, man, has some great video games.
Yeah, I mean,
Dragon Guard 3.
The Switch version. I mean,
I will once I probably play it, but I will be playing the PS3,
the original, or the PC version. That's fine as well.
No. I'd like to own it physically.
Of course you would. Behind the set is his collection. We both have pretty good collections. His is
far more meager.
Quaint. I would say quaint. Yours is sensible. Mine,
That's fair.
I have just scanned in my 100th PS4 and Switch game.
Yeah, that's definitely not. Let's look at my statistics here, my friend.
Small break to look at our collectors with a Z app.
Yeah, it doesn't. Where's the total? There it is. 312 games. That's all I got.
Yeah, I don't think you need to look at the statistics. It's just at the top of the general list.
Yeah, I got 57 Switch and 53 PS4. Those are my most.
Those are your highest? Switch
and
then
PS4? DS.
Mine too.
DS and PS3 are tied.
Switch
and then Game Boy Advance
are just so easy to collect for. How many Advance?
31.
31? I don't know what I have. I'm using my phone right now, so I can't tell you.
You have far more valuable games than I do, but my most valuable game, dude, guys, Mega Man Star Force 3 Black Ace, that just keeps
buy it. Keep buying it, because we like to see those prices go up.
Yeah, it makes me feel good.
Honestly, though, we don't care that prices go up, because
I'm never selling.
There are few things that we will ever sell on our show.
Although I did find a copy of that game for $50, and I'm having you sell that for me because, oh my word.
Yeah. Anyhow. Moving on to Atlas, just being good. You mentioned Persona 4. I mean, not Persona 4. SMT 4. So I have always been aware of the Shin Megami Tensei series. I remember when I was in middle school. I think I was in middle school. I went to the store to pick up Final Fantasy IV, I think it was. And I saw Strange Journey there. It just struck me. I never picked it up. Persona 5 was the first SMT game I ever had. I never picked it up, but it's always stuck in my head as a game I really want to play. And then the same thing happened when 4 came out. It struck me in a particular way. So those two, Strange Journey and 4, I want to play more than anything.
Yeah, Strange Journey is one I still need to pick up. I have... The 3DS is such a good platform for SMT. Mm-hmm. You have SMT4, SMT4 Apocalypse, both...
The remakes for all 3 of the DS games.
I was about to say, you have both Devil Survivors and Strange Journey and Devil Summoners.
Yeah, that one's exclusive, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
So 4...
So I've got that and SMT4, Devil Summoners and
4
SMT4.
and the 2 SMT4s. I'd like to have all of them eventually, but they're expensive.
They are expensive. Should really just dive in and get all of them.
Yeah,
over the next couple months, like focus instead of focusing on Switch games or PS4 games, SMT games.
Yeah, I'd like to have all of them. The one that I think will be the most fun for me will be the Devil Survivor series, the kind of more strategy kind of style.
It does look interesting.
It looks really fun, and fans really hold the first one in very high regard. So I bet it's great.
This is a bit of an aside. This is could not be anything other than an aside. Have you ever heard of Culdcept? Culdcept. I don't know. Culdcept.
Sounds really familiar.
Yeah, because I've got a couple games on my shelf. I have tried a few times to start it, but always been too busy. Culdcept has done what nobody else not dares to do, even has any interest in doing. It is a monster-catching card game JRPG that is, at its core, Monopoly. You literally roll dice and roll around a board, collect 200 energy. When you pass go.
That's really
weird. It's literally Monopoly, but
I've never heard of this before.
Instead of buying properties, and the boards get a little unique. Every board's different.
Unique.
Every board's different.
That's so nice, Tyler.
That's not. I don't mean it that way. Like, oh, you're cute. No, the boards are not just a square. But anyway, instead of buying property, you place monsters. So instead of collecting tax, you do battle. It's very interesting. That's all.
I mean, that's a good aside, I think.
That's all. You just mentioning the Devil Summoner thing reminded me of that. There's nothing else like Culdcept. What even is? Well, I just told you what Culdcept is. It's nobody else has ever said, let's do Monopoly. But a JRPG.
It's like a Rick and Morty percent. No, Morty, you gotta understand, like, you gotta have, like, it's like Monopoly, but it's like a JRPG with cards and stuff. Don't look at me like that, Morty. It looks fantastic.
Correct.
Anyway, you can also have Metal Gear Solid 3 on 3DS. Maybe play it on PS3 instead. I'm going to be playing it on...
Yeah, by the way, the Metal Gear Solid Legacy Collection is $25 for whatever reason. It's complete nonsense.
Brand new.
All the Metal Gear Solid games up to 4. Metal Gear games.
Including Peace Walker.
Including the Metal Gear games.
Yeah, Metal Gear 1 and 2.
From their Super Nintendo. They are there.
Super Nintendo.
Which you have to play.
MSX.
What?
No, Super Nintendo had a very, very bad... NES had a very bad port.
Oh, so what games, what systems
MSX.
were they on?
MSX.
What is MSX?
It's a Japanese computer system.
Oh.
Think like Commodore.
I'm a gamer. I should know that.
It's fine.
No, I don't care.
You also haven't played through the Metal Gear yet.
I don't care that I don't know that. But anyway, you can play the entirety of Metal Gear up to Metal Gear Solid 4.
And you can buy Metal Gear Solid 4 on PC, PS3, or PS4 for $5, Definitive Edition.
Metal Gear Solid 4 is on PC?
5.
Oh, dude, I was about to flip the hell out.
No, actually, they're still having trouble emulating it.
Okay, we'll stick with PS3. I was really about to be very excited and stop the recording to buy it right now.
That'd be great on PC, guys.
Of course, it'd be great on anything other than the PS3.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have... Guys, Konami, listen, I know you hate money. I know it. I know you like your pachinko. If you
Pull the lever!
Pull the lever. Do a complete collection of... Even if you just do the mainline games on PS5, like a collection, you could charge $200 for that, and most people would buy it. Most people would buy that. Like, you shouldn't charge $200 for it, but most people would buy it anyway.
It'd be a hard... No, it'd be an easy sell for $60.
Oh, people would eat that up for $60. And you'd bring so many more new fans in, and then you can drop your, crappy Metal Gear Solid 6, whatever you want to do.
What is that? Metal Gear Solid 1 through 5.
And Peace Walker.
Plus Peace Walker, plus Ground Zero, plus the 2 Metal Gear games. Anything else?
You can include Portable Ops if you want.
Sure. What else you got?
You can include
Acid?
Portable Ops.
Acid 1 and 2, right?
They'll never re-release Acid 1 and 2.
Those are card games, right?
Yeah, it's like, turn-based card style games. They look great, but...
That'll probably be my favorite.
They're not even on Peace Walker. They're not even on Vita. They only work disc on PSP.
Oh, I should pick those up.
You should. I'm trying to, but I don't have a PSP, so it'd be...
Are they expensive?
No. $30 maybe each.
Yeah. Dude, just get them.
Yeah, I should.
You don't have a PSP now, but those will be expensive before PSPs are expensive.
I really want to play them. They look great.
Yeah.
We're talking about Metal Gear. How does this always happen to me? I love these games so much. I have such a problem.
Anyway, listen, Konami, we know you are pretentious a-holes. And you like to... I don't know. They don't not like money. They like money.
It's like pachinko money.
Listen, if you were to release this collection on PS5, it would...
And PC? Oh my god, dude. Like, you would make so much money.
And PC, this would be the best value in all of video games. Currently, I believe, wholeheartedly, even though I don't like the series, Square Enix holds that
Kingdom Hearts
title. The Kingdom Hearts, what is it called? Everything Up Until Now collection?
It's like the story so far.
The story so far. It is all of Kingdom Hearts up to Kingdom Hearts 3. 2 discs. 2 discs on the PS4 with a slipcase. You're getting the first 3 games. You're getting the PS2 remake of the Game Boy Advance game. That's interesting. You're getting the PSP game, the spin-off sequel thing of the PSP game. You're getting the cutscenes from all of the DS games. You're getting Dream Drop Distance up-res to 4K from the DS. Well, I just talked about 20 years of video games. $20. $20 you can get that for.
It's insane.
It's nuts.
A close second, in my opinion, being Hollow Knight. The amount of content you get for free, for $20 when you buy Hollow Knight.
The amount of quality content. Speaking of the amount of quality content, I'm going to take a bit of a tangent and just reminisce about the good days when Humble Bundle was not owned by IGN, when Humble was not owned by IGN. And we had the Humble Indie Bundle 5. Braid, Super Meat Boy, Hotline Miami, Psychonauts, Amnesia, let's see, Lone Survivor, and I believe Shank. That's good. Literally $1.
That's disgusting.
That's the best value in video games. Let's move on, though. Let's move on.
So all that to say... No, there's no transition there. Let's just go back to talking about SMTV.
Yeah, what's next on the agenda here?
So, just some things to know if you're going to pick up SMT5. There are some pretty big technical shortcomings. I'm glad SMT games have kind of stuck to Nintendo with, 4 Apocalypse, and 5. A lot of the, like the other games we talked about on 3DS, they got re-releases. I like to see that partnership. A lot of pop-in, a lot of textures, taking a long time to load. It doesn't it doesn't perform very pretty. It's not pretty. Sorry, it is pretty, but it doesn't perform well on Switch.
It performs poorly in like 2 areas. The pop-in, you can't argue it.
And
Nothing
some of
you
the
say
and a
will-
lot of anything in the distance will be a
It's
lower
terrible.
frame rate, pretty obviously.
which actually is very
especially
common.
docked. It's just a little more obvious here. I think.
Yeah, it's obvious in that like the Pokemon trailer. I think what happened there, because that's not an uncommon sort of tactic. That's the wrong word. But anyway, that's often the case. Things you can see in the distance have a lower frame rate animation. It's probably a quarter of the frames actually in the full animation. And when the initial Arceus trailer was launched, I actually, now that I've thought about it a bit more, I don't think it was the actual performance of the game. I think it was just like an overworld camera, and they didn't account for that animation. Like wherever the player character was in the world was triggering the like 4-frame animation of the Chimecho or whatever the Pokemon was. And so the overworld camera that was being controlled didn't trigger the full animation. Does that make sense?
No, that makes sense. That's interesting.
Anyway,
All that to say,
I'm sorry.
I do think that this game, if you're
on the menus.
a really the menus.
The menus take forever to pop up. And the animation takes longer than Chimecho.
Yeah.
Okay? There's like 2 frames. No, there's like 4 frames for any of the menus to pop up. What is happening?
Yeah, it's really, if you're a stickler for performance, you are going to be disappointed. You would ask, why is this game not just on PlayStation, Xbox?
I would like to, we don't do this often, to disagree, because I'm a stickler for performance. Everything else runs good. Your movement is fluid. The battles, I did not notice. You've played a lot more than me.
The battles are great.
Battles are
The
very
battles look
smooth.
great. Yep.
It's really just the pop-in
It's the
and
overworld
the
stuff.
menu.
Yeah.
Well, even walking around in the overworld is fine. Like sliding down
Okay, interesting.
a hill, you're not going to see frame dips as you slide down a sand dune around a tree and suddenly the Tokyo Tower is there. It's all smooth. It's the distant animation, which is industry standard. It's not noticeable in all games, but it is industry standard. And then the menus. I really think those are the only major points.
All right.
Everything else runs pretty well. I'm the stickler here.
It's true.
And it's very forgivable.
That's fair. I think, I forgive it easily. You know that. That's this thing any viewer should know. I forgive games pretty easily for technical issues. I'm pretty much just looking for that gameplay, and unless the technical issues really impede that, I don't care.
I still don't know how you got through Prince of Persia, man. That's crazy.
I don't know. It's fine. I was really enjoying the game,
Which I'm so happy for.
Yeah, I like it
So
more than you
happy.
know.
Yes.
I really like that game. It's really good. Prince of Persia 2008. Prince of Persia 2008. Definitely check it out.
Yeah.
I do want to mention I know we don't have too much more to say about SMT5. I'm enjoying it. I'm not quite done. I'm in the Demon King Palace area. It's a really fun game. I'm going to finish it for sure. It's an addicting little loop.
It is. I like Monster. I don't play much outside of Pokemon, but I like the formula of monster catching games, which actually, excuse me, I would put stuff like Final Fantasy 3 on the DS, and which is Final Fantasy 3, right? Right. We talked about that.
Yeah, it's just the chibi art style, right?
No. I mean, like it's because there was the weird naming scheme between Japanese.
Oh, yes,
like that's
correct.
Final Fantasy 3.
Yes, that is Final Fantasy 3.
And Tactics,
Not 6.
Those are not too dissimilar from a traditional monster catching formula. Tactics is much more, but Final Fantasy 3, even though you only have the 4 party members, you are leveling up, like a tree of jobs to be able to switch them out, level them up, and get skills between, sort of double class. It all sort of is a similar formula that's not just a traditional JRPG. I love monster catching games. I'm not going to finish this. I really think everything outside of the combat is pretty weak. The combat's fantastic, but there is so much more on my list right now. Unfortunately, another 20 hours isn't going to make the cut, but it is great. I really think this game is awesome because I just skip the cutscenes and go on to continue battling. It really is. That's the only thing I've done. Fused monsters and battled for 22 hours or whatever.
And congrats
it's a
to
solid
a game
game
for making menus interesting. Like, when I am addicted to your menus and in them as much as I am
good,
in the game.
Man.
The only other time I can think of that happened for me happens in Mega Man Battle Network for me, and it happens in Final Fantasy VII, the original. I spent so much time like debating my materia and like, oh, but should I level this up and be weaker for a while, or should
if you were addicted to the menus, building a deck in Battle Network 3, you should never play Magic the Gathering.
Exactly, that's why I refuse.
But I want you to so bad. I love Magic the Gathering, by the way. And he won't play.
For a good reason, I think.
Played. You don't have to spend money, dude. People are so comfortable with proxies these days. Just printed cards. A lot of my decks are printed cards. I
just don't trust myself. Like, I would want the real cards.
No, dude. You wouldn't.
We'll talk about it.
I'm obviously the weaker man here.
That's not true at all.
It is, dude. Look at dude. I spent so much money in the past 2 months on various sales.
You got a pocket coming.
Shh. Saving money, going broke. Going broke, saving money.
There we go, boy.
That's it.
So, I would like
Anyway, you should play Magic the Gathering.
That's
the important part.
I'm going to move on now.
Yeah, you should.
We think there's one kind of thing I want to end on that I would like to dive into more, and I think we should, not next year, obviously, but I think we should do a little bit more of a deep dive on a couple JRPG series, some of the main ones, because this is something I want to know more about. I feel like I'm not involved enough in these games. I don't play enough of them to speak to this, but there's something about them where some of these large overarching series like SMT, Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest in particular, like think of Dragon Quest while I'm mentioning this, is within a series they're constantly throwing in new mechanics and ideas to the series, like interesting spins, interesting new kind of systems or menus or combat styles. But the core seems to stay pretty much the same. Like, I think since SMT3, we've really had the same.
Well, with 5,
fusion.
And I could be wrong. 5 is the only SMT game I've played. They're all the general structure of the world is more of a traditional, like PC dungeon crawler, right?
I guess, yeah. I guess what I'm getting at though is like the demon fusion and building a party like that, that's in a little bit of grinding, that's been the core.
Yeah,
I feel like for a long time. And sure, Persona's different, right? 'Cause there's so much emphasis on that the connections, right, and the social systems. But in terms of SMT and even the spin-offs, sure, Devil Survivor, you have the what's the word I'm looking for? Sorry, tactics kind of style, grids and stuff. You have in Strange Journey and Devil Summoner, you have the traditional,
the first-person dungeon
right?
crawler thing,
dungeon crawling,
which I've listened to the old lady talk about Strange Journey and Devil Summoner. Seems to be really rough around the edges.
I'd still love to play it. But
me too.
Despite those
Definitely.
things, that core of demon fusion and capturing demons and building up a party and kind of that party changing pretty frequently, that's been the same the whole time. And it's a really strong foundation. And sure, you throw in a couple twists, like I don't know if this is in other games, but you have the essences in SMT5, and you have, you have a couple new demons, and you might have some new moves, and you have, I don't think this is in the other games, the Magatsuhi, where, both you and your enemy have a Magatsuhi gauge, and if your enemy gets to use it, they can wipe your party easy.
Yeah.
Because it's guaranteed critical hits, which we haven't talked about this yet, but a critical hit or hitting an enemy's weakness will cause you to get an extra turn. And
this is actually, quick aside, because I will forget. This is good Coca-Cola. I will forget. I think this might be the only time that the enemies don't follow the same rules in your favor, that is. And even then, I don't think there's a time where they don't follow the rules in their favor, like a totally unfair thing. When you use a Magatsuhi move, it doesn't take a turn. It stays on your character.
Does for them.
It does for them. That's all. Just a quick aside.
Interesting note.
That's the one little sort of affordance the player is given.
And basically, so this is an Shin Megami Tensei thing. Even in Persona, if you hit an enemy's weakness or you get a critical hit, you're given an extra turn. And what it does, I like the way they symbolize it. You have 4 turn counters. Basically, the amount of turn counters equals the amount of demons plus you have in your party. So if you have your max party, you have 4 turn counters. And if you hit a weakness
or
a critical, that turn icon will start glowing. So that means that turn icon cannot be reused after it's used. So if you get all 4 turn counters glowing, even if you hit a critical on the next turn, or even if you hit a weakness, it'll still go away.
Oh, right? Is that how it works?
Yeah, and so if you pass a turn, it'll actually, instead of truly taking away your turn token, it'll actually light your turn token up. So it's kind of a halfway use of a turn. You don't truly give up your turn, but you give up the ability to turn that turn token into a critical hit or to gain an extra turn.
That's real. Did you listen to someone explain?
No, I just finally picked up on it after I passed.
I was not paying attention to the symbols.
Yeah,
just the number. That
makes a lot more sense, right? Because if you have 2 turn tokens left and they're both glowing, and you pass a turn, you are fully giving up that turn. You're not getting. You can't still get that extra turn.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a nice little system, right? It's pretty common in the SMT games. I know there's a couple little variations on it, but you have this ability to... It's about turn economy. The whole game is about turn economy.
So the most attacks you can have is 8, correct?
Yes, the maximum amount of attacks you can have is 8.
I thought... Yeah, I was completely wrong. Never mind. I won't say what I thought.
Heard.
Yeah.
But all that to say, sense. I would like to dig into JRPGs, because from the outside in, it looks like a lot of these games have a firm foundation that rarely shifts at all, and then they throw on these kind of new mechanics and other ways of working within this system that already exists. Especially things like Dragon Quest.
Yeah.
Right?
We would have to argue about that.
No, this is not me making a statement. This is me going from the outside looking in.
No. I mean, for the podcast, wanting to do the deep dive on a series. The genre, however, which we've talked about in the past, I would be...
I just want to play Chrono
more
Cross.
Than happy.
I want to play Chrono Cross.
I want you to play Chrono Cross. I'm going to hold your hand. I want you to play Chrono Cross too. I am so angry. That's all I'm going to say. Okay? It's stupid. Anyhow, I wouldn't want to do a deep dive on Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest.
No, that'd be ridiculous.
I'll pick out a Dragon Quest game, pick out Final Fantasy Tactics.
Or maybe bring on someone who has played like all of those games. Someone who can speak to that. We play one of them and we ask them like, hey, this is what it seems like on the outside looking in. Can you, as someone, like, for example, I have played a lot of From Software's games. Demon Souls all the way through Sekiro, and you bet your sweet behind I'm playing Elden Ring.
Oh my god. I think I talked about it last week. I talked about it sometime. I do not get excited for video games. There's one game I am anticipating but I'm not even excited for it. And that's Silk Song. Hollow Knight, Silk Song. Because Hollow Knight's my favorite game. Currently my number one favorite game. I'm looking forward to Silk Song. I don't expect literally anything from it. Because I don't want to burn myself. But it's hard to get an old, cynical man excited. But I watched some footage from the demos, or the one demo, for Elden Ring. Zach, I'm so ready.
It looks so good.
This game. It looks incredible. I cannot wait for Elden Ring.
As someone who has played a lot of FromSoft games, someone on the outside looking in would say Sekiro just looks like more Dark Souls. But for me, someone who's acquainted with the series, I can go, actually, it fundamentally shakes up everything Dark Souls has been. Stripping out the RPG system, making it a game fully based on skill and responsiveness.
And then
creating openings in the boss instead of memorizing openings in the boss, right?
Then everybody else just rolls their eyes.
Exactly.
Because they don't get you.
Exactly. So I want to talk to the guy that I can roll the eyes at about Dragon Quest.
Yeah.
What's different?
Yeah.
And I want to hear from them because people who are fans of JRPGs will get more out of that conversation one day. I think it's far past the time that I'll be on the cast anymore. I'll play through the entirety of one of these big JRPG series.
Well, you're more than halfway there with Final Fantasy.
I do want to play a lot of them.
1, 4 through
1,
7.
4, 5. I've not played 6 all the way through. 7.
Okay.
1, 4, 5, 7.
Say 6, man. You played
15.
enough, right?
No, not really. I've played like maybe the first couple hours.
Oh, we haven't played, and this is excluding. I know their main line.
We want to play 9
excluding
for the
11
cast.
and 4.
We want to play 9 for the cast.
I would prefer 12, but out of the
Sure,
earlier
for our
games,
Ivalice series.
out of the earlier games, no, just 12 is unlike any other game.
It looks really interesting.
Yeah. 9 is back to basics. I am very interested in 9, but 12 is such a bizarre creation. That's what I'm most interested in. And then just for that, I coined this term, choral punk. 10.
I'll say I've played enough of 13 to say I've played 13. I've played halfway through that game.
I will also say that I will say I've played enough of 13 to never play 13 again.
I would like to
never play 13
I have very fond
again.
memories of 13.
Why and how?
I don't know.
No, the combat was really fun. I actually have extremely fond memories of the combat.
I like the character designs.
Maybe.
It's the only Final Fantasy game to get 2 sequels.
Yeah,
that's weird.
Tactics.
Oh, I guess you're right. I barely count
12.
That,
actually, okay. I'm not trying to discredit what you're saying.
No, but like
I'm just thinking.
13-2, 13-3.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
10 only had 1. There's very few. I'm not trying to discredit you.
No, but you're right. I would not
I'm
take
just thinking.
What you said. I forget what you said before that. But I would accept Tactics. I don't think I would accept the other one.
Which one did I say?
I forget what you said. But I would accept Tactics.
10, I mean,
you have
13
Tactics Advance, A2, and, or do you have another one?
Oh, 12.
See, I don't really, yeah.
12 only had 1 sequel, though.
Yeah, it had Revenant Wings.
Revenant Wings, but also, no, I would,
I'll
draw the line, but they're all in Ivalice.
Sure,
Tactics
I just wouldn't call them sequels. Just like I wouldn't call Brandon Sanderson's novels, like Mistborn and Stormlight Archive sequels, even though they're set in the same world.
Sure.
Like they're 2 separate series,
sure.
you know?
In that case, then Tactics and Tactics Advance are the only direct sequels. Unless, of course, you're a degenerate and you would like to include
but there's A2.
Crystal Defenders in that. Wait a minute. They are direct sequels.
Uh-oh.
Crystal Chronicles has 2 sequels.
Yeah, that's not mainline Final Fantasy. Shots have been fired!
Maybe not. Actually, I could be wrong. I think there are 4 Crystal Chronicle games. So 3 sequels. 1 on the Wii and 2 on the DS.
I also wipe my butt 4 times sometimes. Doesn't mean I count that. I'm
your
just
mouth.
kidding. I actually haven't played any Crystal Chronicles. They look really good. Specifically the first one.
The remake got no fanfare.
Yeah, that was weird. That's a good
just
point.
dropped off the face of the earth. I should pick that up.
You should do that.
Unless it's like $900 now. Because no one has talked about it and there was like 1 print run maybe. But I have such fond memories of that game.
Sure. Dude, I don't play Tales of Arise, speaking of new games.
Yeah. We are off. We're so off right now.
It's okay. I don't have much
we
more
were
to
talking
say.
about the RPG series. We actually have
But
talked
do you get
about
that distinction, I guess,
I
that
do
I'm
understand
making?
the distinction fully. I personally, you would have to do some convincing. Do not want to dive into Final Fantasy or really any series. I would like to pick out some pieces. 12, 9, hell, 14, but that's for a wholly different reason.
14 looks so good.
14 looks like a massively multiplayer game.
But it looks like a masterpiece of that genre.
It does. I would be drawn to Elder Scrolls first with Final Fantasy.
I still think 14
Well, I've
would
also
win me
played Final Fantasy 14. There was a 1 week trial. I did play, I don't know, like up to level 7.
It's just not my genre, you know.
Yeah.
I get to do free trials of all of Amazon's games.
Have you done
employed.
Second World?
Or
Or what was it? What is it called?
I forget.
New
the name.
World, I
New
think.
World. Yeah, I did get the beta for that, or the alpha for that. I think it's alpha. Is it alpha? No, it's the beta.
No, it's out now. It's fully out. It's been out for a couple months.
Yeah, but I got the beta.
Oh,
like right when I first started, and it's I didn't even play it. Like it's just not my thing.
yeah. MMOs are not our thing, but we're so far.
Branch out. We should branch out.
We absolutely should. That's why we do these
But
genre.
we need to get in like at
explorations.
ground level with one. You know what I mean? Like I feel like there's so much catch up to do with some of these, pre-existing ones.
Yeah,
which
I
is
mean-
part of what makes them so good.
New World would be one to do it with, but we're not.
No,
Not
we
at
don't
this
have
point.
time.
Not at this point. Okay. Let's get back on track. We have talked about doing the next genre dive, which last year we did dating sims, which they're all short enough. It fit into one episode.
And walking sims.
We did. That's what I meant to say is walking sims. This year we did a span across 5 or 6 episodes. The 3D platformer genre, though not everything we played was a 3D platformer. And next year, if we can fit it in, we have considered a brief exploration of JRPGs. Vastly different systems, but all in the genre. What have we been talking about? Chrono Cross, Radiant Historia, number 1, Radiant Historia.
Yeah, we gotta play that game. Guys, I love Battle Network. I gotta play Radiant Historia. Give me that grid, baby. Give me that grid.
Dude, it's so good. I played like 4 hours of Radiant Historia years ago.
One good thing about Battle Network 3 and 6 is that they both capitalize a lot on like push and pull and moving opponents to where you want them.
It must have been 7 or 8 years ago now that I played that 2 or 3 hours of Radiant Historia. I still have not forgotten about it. I think about it often. That combat system might be one of the absolute best in JRPGs. There is a 3x3 grid. All of your moves push and pull in a direction. So, and also the turn system is in order. So you can, let's say it shows 9 turns. Your moves, the enemy moves. You can skip yourself and just put yourself back at the bottom of that. So you can, if you think you can survive their onslaught, you can stack up like 6, 7 of your turns. Your party's turns. And so you are pushing them and pulling them, getting them all stuck into one square of that
Whatever, like your
3x3
optimal
grid.
big damage.
Yeah,
move
and
is
then
gonna
just
hit.
like cast lightning in one square, and then like it multiplies based on the number of enemies in that square. It is so good. Atlas, bro.
Atlas.
They're good. They're so good.
As evidenced by this game, you should play it, pick it up, support Atlas. They're so good. Do you have anything else you want to say about this game?
About this game, no.
But we got one more game.
We do have one more game. Just a brief conversation. Suddenly, a new game.
Wow! This is like magic.
Kana, Bridge of
How
Spirits.
did you do it?
With editing. With
Adobe
editing.
Premiere.
Correct. It is a powerful and
spiritual, one might say. A spiritual
something.
experience.
I was looking for another adjective, but mistress is what I was going to end on. It is a mistress that you need in your life, but
she's a
hates
fickle
you,
one too, though.
that actively hates you. No, Premiere is not as bad as not Audition. After Effects.
Don't even talk.
Dude,
about After
it
Effects.
took me. I Googled over and over. It took me months, like probably 12 episodes, to get a workflow down in After Effects for our little social media clips. Like I had to look up YouTube videos every single time because I couldn't figure out what to do. It took me months to get a workflow down. Anyway, enough about that. We're here to talk about, lastly, Kana, Bridge of Spirits.
It'll be a brief discussion too.
Yeah.
I finished it. Tyler's not quite finished it yet. It is. It's from little indie developer. Lots of support from. Is it Sony?
It's Sony, yeah.
It is Sony.
Yeah, so indie in philosophy, but much the same way.
It's still a small development team.
It is, but I say it's not independent. It is indie.
Yeah,
so like Ori. Ori is not by any means an independently developed video game. It's a Microsoft published video game. Microsoft works with Nintendo. They play well with Nintendo, but for all intents and purposes, it's a Microsoft property. Though I think, what is it, like New Moon or something, the studio, I think they've now removed themselves from that contract. Could be wrong, but I think that's the case. So it's the same thing. It's a Sony game. It's a PS5/PC game, but indie by design, which you should check out that website. Pretty cool place.
Yeah, and Kana Bridge of Spirits really doubles down on the animation style, very Pixar, and that's not to say it's derivative. It very much has its own style, but very much inspired by Pixar in terms of the animation style. The animations have a lot of care. This game looks and performs better than so many AAA games I've played in the past 10 years.
Which we will absolutely be talking about in our Game of the Year discussion. That entire sentiment that you just laid out this year, because of the delays, has shown a light on. An incredible, unprecedented light on how much we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it in the Game of Year, the Game of the Year discussion. I have some words to share. But if you didn't know, and we'll link it in the description, but there is a fan-made short about Majora's Mask, about the Skull Kid. That animation team
insane.
Said, we should make a game. This is them.
Yeah, it's you should watch that short.
You absolutely should. It's incredible. Dude, that laugh haunts me. Which I do. I mean, what my favorite movies are. I actively seek out nightmares. I wake up, and this was true when I was a kid, I'd wake up from a nightmare, and I would try to re-enter the nightmare. This laugh, however, that they got for Skull Kid haunts me. It's so good. But anyway, enough about that short. They made this game, and I think it is it's an achievement. It has its shortcomings. It is a smaller, relatively unexperienced team, but I think those things, the shortcomings, are so easily looked past. This is, in my opinion, a pretty damn good game.
I agree.
It's focused. Again, I've not finished it. Zach is going to have some words about the very end of the game, which I'm sure I will agree on.
Should not overshadow.
Or maybe
what it is,
even, I may be harsher on by the time I get to that point, which I do intend to finish. Though I say that often enough. Everything going on in the game is pretty simplistic. It's not a particularly complicated game. It's a very traditional...
It reminds me a lot of like the classic PS2 action adventure games.
Yes, it's a very traditional game.
And not in a bad way. Like,
No.
I mean, the best of the PS2 classic adventure games.
Yes.
Like these kind of quote-unquote open areas that are really just a lot of linear paths with a couple little branching ways you can go. But a coherent place. Just on a kind of a larger scale with the...
Dude, I was playing this game, not watching one of its cutscenes. I was literally playing the game, and for the first time ever, my wife said, "What you watching?" And I had to explain to her what this was. Which, I mean, that's fine. She doesn't play games. But she didn't realize it was not an animated film.
And it looks so good. And
so good, man.
Sure, if you pay really close attention, you'll see that a lot of the details that are in these higher budget AAA games aren't going to be there. The movement of the wind through the trees, leaves falling, things like that aren't going to be there. You're not going to find that. You're going to hit invisible walls. Things aren't going to bounce off of you like you'd expect in something like a Naughty Dog game.
Okay. Nothing. Not even Hitman, no Square Enix game, literally nothing does it like Naughty Dog. Like,
Sure.
You can be running full sprint down a hallway and there's a elevator button you need to press right here. You can be a couple steps down the hallway and they'll be like, "Oh crap, I forgot to press that." It's incredible.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
Nothing should be compared to Naughty Dog.
Sure, but even on the sense of like the environments, like I said, the wind doesn't really blow through the trees. Like if you really pay attention, you're gonna see that this is a small team who has put together something so coherent and so fantastic that stop looking for that stuff. That's like, stop it, Zach. Stop it. It's so
which is so weird
good.
because you and I are the complete opposite. And for some reason, seemingly have switched roles with
Just
this
today.
game. I was texting you and just saying, like, "Is this the best presented game this year?" And you're like, "What? No? Are you an idiot? Are you a
say that.
Are you a
Much
noob?
nicer to Tyler than he would have you believe.
You uncultured swill! I'm deleting your number." Is what you said to
The
me.
problem is I have a number memorized.
Fair enough.
I had your number memorized before I memorized my wife's number.
I still don't know my wife's number.
Oh, what?
It's been 7 years.
That's insane.
I've been together for 11 years. I think I might know it.
I
Almost there.
I know yours, James's, and Oliver's by heart. I know Oliver's mom's number by heart because that's what I used to call her.
Get out of here,
But
man.
now I can call her whenever I want.
You should just call her and say, "I just want to let you know."
I dialed this by memory and hang up.
Yeah, just do it, man.
I don't want to talk too much about this game, but I will mention...
Because it's crap.
No, it's beautiful. And unfortunately, I just don't have a lot to say about it. It is pretty simplistic story told in three large scenario, a little tutorial scenario in three larger scenarios. Heavy emphasis on combat and puzzles. That, classic action adventure kind of stuff.
Easy puzzles, barely puzzles.
Easy puzzle, like more just environment interaction, really,
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. And which I'd argue most action adventure games are doing nowadays. Anyway, and
I mean, even Naughty Dog games. Back to Naughty Dog.
Absolutely.
Like, there's no puzzle in Last of Us 2.
it's throwing a rope over something, like you're good to go.
Those rope physics, though, bro.
Yeah, you gotta watch it dangle, baby. I do really enjoy a lot of. I can't. I'm sorry, everyone.
Oh my god!
I think I broke Tyler. I'm sorry.
moving on.
Yeah, as fast as possible. There is a more of a focus on combat in this game, though, and your upgrade tree is all combat focused. You basically are building up a gauge that where you can use these little spirits, where you can charge them into different moves. Like, I think the best one is you can put them into your kind of long range shot, your bow shot. A couple different moves that you can get by kind of attacking the enemy with your staff. And it does have a lot of what I'd consider Dark Souls light style combat, where it is heavy. You commit to the action.
And you're using the triggers.
Yeah, you're using the triggers, and you commit. That's what I would call, and it's not a Dark Souls original, it's just what kind of popularized it in modern game design. You are committing to that swing when you hit it, especially your heavier swings. And it's easy to take damage if you take one too many. So, and it's definitely not quite as clean. It's not quite as responsive or as in-depth as a system like Dark Souls, especially the later games, Bloodborne 3. Nowhere near Sekiro, of course. But all that to say, only once in the entire game did I think they pushed an enemy on you that required something a little bit cleaner and more responsive. Typically, all the enemies responded in a way, like behaved in a way that you could react within the limitations of this smaller, more compressed system, and feel rewarded. It's very, very fun to just kind of unload your stronger shots and really kind of get a combo in on the enemy, stagger them, things like that. Do a good counter.
Speaking of combos, to a much lesser degree, the progression tree is pretty reminiscent of God of War.
That's fair.
Especially looking at it. But in implementation...
Talking about God of War 2 and 3, right?
No, I'm talking about God of War 2018.
Oh, interesting.
To a very lesser degree. Please note that. But you have your spear, you have your bow, the... what are they called? The rot. And then there's something I have not unlocked yet. There's a third tier down there. A bomb. Okay. So you've got 4... different trees that you can build out, and they're linear progression, but you can build out as you want, which you might not unlock all of them in a single playthrough. You didn't? Okay. So you're sort of going down paths that you want and building your own, finding your own comfort in the combat system, which is a relatively simple combat system, but does introduce enough challenge. Like, I died a couple times.
And I've heard tougher. It gets tougher for sure.
Yeah, I've heard that.
The second to last boss is an absolute monster.
Now, you have some complaints about those last 2 bosses.
Yeah, there are 2 final bosses. The second to last boss plays basically a lot like what you'd expect out of Soul of Cinder or Gwyn from the Dark Souls series. A lot more demanding than what Kena really has to offer, unfortunately, and it took me quite a few tries. It was very frustrating, and not in like a I need to overcome this, I'm not good enough, but in a way like this just it's too much. It's too much.
And that's a fair distinction that I think an increasing number of developers should take to heart, even though up to that point, the combat is pretty clean in Kena.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you have afforded yourself that level of complexity. It isn't fair to the player. It is, in some aspects, antithetical to the rest of your game. Not everyone can be Dark Souls. Not everyone can implement that level of rewarding complexity. I can be beat down by a Dark Souls boss 12 times, and finally I complete that, and I am still not at the point of frustration. I feel genuinely rewarded. you have to understand what your system can hold up, what that maximum weight capacity is.
And this
And it
second
sounds like it
boss
surpasses
has
it.
6 string long combos where he'll hold it for a second and then hit, and things you can't block or respond to on the first time. You have to truly just memorize it in a way that is super frustrating for Kana, because your dodge takes a long time and your shield is very, very tight, and a lot of his moves are unparryable. And sometimes, not all the time, sometimes when you parry him, he gets stunned, and sometimes when you hit the heavy attack, he gets stunned, and sometimes he doesn't. It's extremely difficult to tell when he will or will not be stunned. And so if you go in for a kind of a longer string of combos, and he just decided not to get stunned that time, you're probably dead, because his combo, if he start his 6 string long one, if he starts it on you, and you miss one dodge, it'll immediately kill you, because he hits you, and if you try to dodge away again, his next move will hit you anyway. Because the tracking is nuts. It can be, super far away from you, and then suddenly appear right next to you and hit you. Like, it's very frustrating. The tracking is disgusting.
Yeah, the thing with games that have a level of difficulty and precision to that degree, the thing that carries them is the predictability. There's a couple ways of doing that. You could have enemies in a particular area introduce mechanics that will eventually be in a boss fight. And they might be disparate things. You might have a mechanic you learned in generic area 2, and a mechanic you learned in generic area 4. And in the 7th area, you fight a boss that is using these two seemingly disparate mechanics in a unique way. Or the boss could have a very limited set. I think to that first boss, I have fought it 6 times, maybe 7 times. I don't know. In Dark Souls 3, the first boss, the giant, worm that comes out. I don't know his name. But anyway, he's very readable and has like 3 or 4 moves. That's it. He does very little compared to other bosses. But he's pretty hard, especially if it's your first time playing Dark Souls 3. Even if you've played Dark Souls 1 and 2 several times, like me. He's a new boss. He does a very small selection of attacks, and you as the player can parse that. But when suddenly you are playing, I don't know, Jak and Daxter, and without switching discs, you are playing Dark Souls, you have lost the plot. You just don't get it.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I think that might be what's going on here.
Very potentially. I think they wanted to really up the ante for the final bosses. And then you fight the next boss, who is unfortunately a string of kind of some platforming challenges and some very, very scripted events that if you don't know are coming, you could potentially mess up or have an issue with, and then lose. And then, unfortunately, it makes you restart the whole boss fight. And it's like 7 phases. And you have to restart the whole boss fight.
I probably won't finish it then. I have very little patience for stuff like that.
If you look up exactly what to do beforehand, you'll be fine.
Then maybe I will.
Yeah, if you look up exactly what you're supposed to do beforehand. Because there's like a moment where there's 3 spears on his back, but it's very hard to see the third one. Like, very hard from the angle to see the third one. So I pulled the other 2 out, and I had no idea how to do that last little sliver of damage to him. Because I just couldn't. And the prompt wouldn't come up unless I was like right next to him and was viewing the spear at the exact right
angle. You know what that reminds me of? And this is shameful, and I'm sorry, folks that made Kana. That, like, second to last boss fight in the first Xenosaga game.
Oh,
with the guy on top of the crab. That's the worst fight I've ever had in a video game. I quit.
Was a rough one.
I quit.
And listen, I have just gone through a pretty long tirade of complaining about these just last 2 bosses. That is nothing to say about the quality of every boss fight up. Did you fight the first major boss, the Fox Kid?
I think.
He's like he's got the fox mask and he's like got a big old sword swinging it at you.
Maybe not. Do you have
He's
to
in front of the big hollow tree?
Do you have to unlock the 4 so you're
Memories.
You're getting the second memory, but there are like I think there are 6 shrines you have to clear.
Yeah, it's after that. So he's the first major boss.
I'm right there.
And he is so good. And when I died, it was my fault. And he has a couple little things that you can use you use your bow for now and try to take him out. And he's really well designed. The second major boss fight, the one of the second major area, is really interesting and a little bit of a puzzle boss, but not trivializing the actual combat portion. Really well designed, fun fights. It makes it kind of tragic that it ends on this note, but I don't think the ending, even though it soured it for me because it was the last thing I did, should not sour anybody else's take on this game. This is a very special game, a game worth your time, and I think the studio has done more than what I've seen from almost any other studio making a 3D independent game.
Is it their first outing?
I don't know. If it is, that's insane.
I think, don't quote me, look it up yourself, or maybe you can. I think it is their first game, which is even more to the point I'm going to make in our Game of the Year discussion where we talk about trends in 2021. I'm excited to finish it. I'm right there at the boss. I think I finished 4 of those 6.
Honestly, like, it's well
shrines.
over a third of the game when you fight that first major boss. The second area takes much less time.
Okay.
The third area
it's
takes
just short
even
game.
less
It's like
time.
8 hours. I say short. That's on the higher side of games that I want to play these days. But for most players, that's probably a very short game. So 8 hours, 8 to 10. It's a relatively short game.
First game, Kena Bridge of Spirits.
Yeah.
That's insane. You guys, you have really knocked it out of the park in a way that I've never seen
very
before.
small shortcomings. You're not going to get Naughty Dog performance here. However, it's absolutely gorgeous. There are so many times where I have just stopped to look around. Just look at this beautiful scenery. The fog, the trees, the water. It's all so good. And that's not the only thing that makes a video game. I know. But it is implemented into just your interactive experience in a way that is a little magical. Like watching Toy Story for the first time. There's a little bit of magic here. And despite its shortcomings, it is worth your time, I think.
Do you have anything else you want to say about this, man?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Let me wrap us up then. Guys, we have our Discord open to the end of 2021. We'd love to have you there. We're building
the end of our Game of the Year discussion, which is next year.
Oh, okay, cool, fantastic. Looks like we're going to extend
before we start our
Game of the Year, which
2022.
we have a good show planned for you guys. It's going to be a nice, big, juicy, long one, as are my favorites. And we're really excited to share those games with you guys. We'd love to hear what you have to think about the games this year and the games we've played this year. What games have, really stood out to you that just you played? What's a game of the year for you? We'd love to hear that kind of stuff. We're on Twitter and Instagram, all that good stuff. And guys, we love sharing these games with you. If you want to reach out to us and chat with us more personally, this is the perfect time to do it. We have a small community. We're growing. We're building. We'd love to get to know you guys a little bit better. All that to say, though, some fantastic games we got to play. We're going to take a little bit of a break before we move on into our next year's content. Give us some time, to ourselves. Your boy needs to finish The Hobbit. Time to read The Hobbit.
You're reading
again.
The Hobbit again?
Yeah, man. I try to reread one Lord of the Rings book every Christmas, and I realize I haven't read The Hobbit since I was maybe 14.
Really?
Yeah, it's been a long time for me. So I reread the beginning not too long ago now, and
it's so good, man.
It's so good.
I don't read almost ever. I've read just a small handful of books in my adult life. The Hobbit being one of them. I think I read when I was 21, 22. There's something magical
happening.
It's so
special. It's so
in those
special.
180 pages.
Yeah, and it's no Lord of the Rings in terms of its epic and its scale and its characters, but there's
something else there.
I was about to say
though.
there's a magic that's not in Lord of the Rings, that's there in The Hobbit, and it's hard to quantify. And I'm hoping to find some way to quantify it for myself as I read through it. So lots of good stuff. We love sharing more than just video games, but please join us in that community. And of course, guys, as we wrap up, don't forget to share what you love with who you love.